1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a massive, enormous, spectacular, sensational Football Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. We had a very good holiday dinner last night at this restaurant called Harry's here in New York City. Stu got a Cajun ribeye, which was to die for. Samter, he ended up getting a filet mignon. I ended up going a grilled piece of salmon. I know, lame loser. I also got a lentil bacon soup. We got a phenomenal, made right at the table Caesar salad. We got some polenta fries as well. And there may have been a drink or two that was consumed as well. So very fun night. With Stu and with Samter, and the whole crew is here today. No one had to call out sick or anything like that. And we are rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We'll have some friends join us along the way. Coming up at the top of the hour from the Georgia Bulldogs, I think one of the best stories in college football. He was a walk-on special teams player originally. Now he starts for the Georgia Bulldogs. He had that huge tackle where he forced the fumble up against Georgia Tech, and then he made a huge tackle in overtime. Dan Jackson is going to join us of the SEC champion Georgia Bulldogs, and that will come your way at the top of the hour. And man, to winning a national championship, winning the SEC, and to see everything that he's been able to do in his last few years. And, in the walk-on system, there are preferred walk-ons. Like, they organize and arrange walk-ons at a program like Georgia. Dan Jackson just showed up. And we'll get more of the story later. And he's like, I want to play for the Georgia football team. And Kirby Smart even said he's everything good with college football. Dan Lanning, quack, the head coach of the Oregon Ducks. His team is on a bye. They have won the Big Ten championship in their inaugural season in the Big Ten. He's going to stop by at 4:40 p.m. Eastern time today, 1:40 p.m. Pacific. And Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks get the winner of whoever does prevail between the Ohio State Buckeyes and also the Tennessee Volunteers. And then in the final hour of the radio extravaganza at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:20 p.m. Pacific, we'll be joined by Chris Brockman, who is the producer of the Rich Eisen Show, which beginning on January 6th, you can listen to Rich Eisen right here on many of these same stations and on the Infinity Sports Network from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So before us, you will get Rich Eisen now. And if that's the first time you're hearing it, I would give you more information, but we've already done that this week. So I am still in the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time slot, regardless of what you may be reading online and regardless of what you may be listening on this network until January 6th. But I will be here, just signed a brand new contract for another year of the Zach Gelb Show right here from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 p.m. Pacific. And we do appreciate and we do thank each and every one of our affiliates. And, you know, obviously we're on Sirius XM and the free Odyssey app. Anywhere you do consume us, we thank you for listening to us. And if you want to continue to hear more compelling sports talk and some of the biggest names in sports and have a personal connection with those affiliates, well, you keep on carrying us on January 6th as we start another year of the Zach Gelb Show. So we got a whole lot to do today. And Chris Brockman, Rich's producer, is going to join us for picks, and our NFL guest pickers have been sensational. So we got a whole lot to do. We start things off with the college football coach this weekend who's under the most amount of pressure. Now, before I get to that, you look at the matchups. It starts tonight, which I can't wait for this scene in South Bend. I don't know about you, Stu, and I know that you're pumped up. Stu is already really feeling himself today. He's feeling his Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Stu has his Notre Dame green. Is that a quarter zip? Is that the appropriate term for that?
Yep, definitely a quarter zip.
So Stu has his quarter zip Notre Dame Fighting Irish jacket on, and they're going up against Indiana. And just the pictures so far of Touchdown Jesus and the stadium and it all being covered in snow, I know that you will be thoroughly disappointed, obviously, if Notre Dame loses the game tonight. But even without knowing how this game's going to play on out, it is a really cool scene to kick off this first kind of edition of the 12-team college football playoff. We've seen the 14 college football playoff, but now with more access to have Notre Dame in this Friday night spot, Friday night football under the lights in South Bend with snow coming down all throughout the day and supposedly all throughout the night. Notre Dame, Indiana, let's get it going. It's a great way to start off the college football playoff season.
It definitely is a great venue, and then you add in the weather, you add in that it's the first game of the playoff era with just all the teams that we have in it, the 12-team. It's just amazing. I really hope they win. I know there's a chance of disappointment, but we'll see what happens.
It seems like you've been optimistic, though, pretty much all throughout the week. Now I feel as if you're a little skeptical.
If it's just the team and the two teams playing, I feel really confident. It's just Notre Dame always burns me in these spots in the past. In the playoffs, in the big games, the national championship against Alabama, the playoff game against Clemson in Dallas, which I was at. I feel like they're always ripe to be burned at this point.
So is this considered a big game yet? I know that people could be listening and they're going to be saying, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard Zach ever ask. And I understand. It's a college football playoff game. Of course it's a big game. What are you, a moron, Gelb? But you look at what we used to consider big games. Obviously, when Notre Dame, when it was just picked two teams in the BCS and they were going up against Alabama and they got smacked around in that game, and that was just really, really ugly. That game was over at halftime. Clearly, that was the national championship. It was a big game. But on the big game scale, we know it's important. But for Notre Dame, they usually struggle when it's them up against the elite. Because Notre Dame, in terms of brand recognition, is an elite program. But in terms of on the field and the play in these elite games, they are not an elite football team. So with all that being said, you're going up against Indiana. Indiana, wonderful story this year. Love Kurt Cignetti. He's awesome. But in their biggest game of the season, and it wasn't even like Ohio State played an A-plus game in the first half, Ohio State was basically able to run them off the field in the second half. So looking at this, Stu, and knowing all the pain and the suffering that you have gone through in the past, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, I understand you have the PTSD, and also I am someone that rarely believes in Notre Dame in a big game. I'm always like, I'm not taking the bait. I'm not believing. I won't do it. But I got no fear tonight. And I understand Indiana's a confident team. Indiana's a very good team. But I don't think Notre Dame, if they lose this game tonight, and that's the way that it will be perceived. If they do lose, I'm cognizant of that this game, Notre Dame fans should be worried because it's a big game. I get it. It's a college football playoff game, but it doesn't have the same big game feel of big games of the past because you're not immediately truncated into a 4-team college football playoff. And a team like Indiana, Stu, if that's the resume that they usually have in terms of any other year, this is a game that Notre Dame usually does win. It's when you get into the elite upper echelon teams, that's where Notre Dame struggles. I just don't view Indiana that way. I don't understand some of the frustration and the nervousness, I guess is the better way to say it, and the anxiety from Notre Dame fans, because these are the games that you usually do win. But since it's thrown into a 12-team playoff, I guess this qualifies now, Stu, as the new big game. But these are usually the big games that you haven't won in the past because we haven't had this. But this, to me, is not one of those games where I'm like, oh, this is where Notre Dame's going to show that they're a fraud because they can't win a big game if you get that.
No, you're right. I think they definitely should win this game. And if they don't win, I'll be disappointed. I'll be very disappointed. They should win this game. If they lose in the next round, that's one thing. If they lose later on in the playoffs, that's fine. But they should win this game, and I'll be upset if they don't.
So I'm looking at all the coaches this weekend that are playing just this weekend, not the coaches that have their feet up and getting ready for their first matchup in the second round. So not Kenny Dillingham, not Spencer Danielson, not Kirby Smart, not Dan Lanning, who's going to join us coming up at 4:40 p.m. Eastern time today. But I'm looking at Cignetti against Marcus Freeman, right? Who's the coach with more pressure on them? Even though he just got a brand new deal, it's Marcus Freeman. SMU with Rhett Lashley and James Franklin with Penn State. Obviously, there's more pressure on James Franklin. Dabo Swinney of Clemson, Steve Sarkisian of Texas. Obviously, there's more pressure on Sark to win the game. And then you have Josh Heupel going to the Horseshoe at Ohio Stadium and going up against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And you have Ryan Day. And obviously, there's more pressure on Ryan Day. So between Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisian, and James Franklin, who has the most pressure on them? And when you go through all these coaches, those four coaches individually, if James Franklin loses to SMU, it's a disaster. And you could even craft the argument, because I said a few weeks ago when people were like, oh, you're too tough on James Franklin. I'm like, yeah, I don't like him, but I'm realistic in what I say. And I did say something along the lines of, if he wins one college football playoff game this year, I won't be critical of him. But then you look at the draw that they did get, and if Penn State beats SMU, they play Boise State. And it's like, okay, if you told Penn State fans before the season that you would have getting to the Final Four of the college football playoff, SMU and Boise State in your way, then obviously they would sign up for that in a second. But just like how kind of Notre Dame can't win the big game, Penn State also has struggles in winning the big game. But once again, it's the same kind of thing. When I look at Notre Dame up against Indiana and Penn State up against SMU, yes, I get it. It's a big game because it's a college football game, a playoff game. If you win, you advance. If you lose, your season's over. It's donezo with. But in terms of the big game scale, we'll usually like Notre Dame and Penn State struggle. It's when Penn State has to play a Michigan, or it's when Penn State has to play Ohio State. For Notre Dame, when they have to play a Clemson, or a Georgia. Indiana and SMU, even though it's a big game, I don't feel as if there should be that big game fear that, Franklin and Freeman, they can't get the job done, because these are the types of games that those two coaches and those two programs have usually won in the last few years. So I'm not saying there's no pressure on Marcus Freeman. I'm not saying there's no pressure on James Franklin, because if they lose those games, it looks so bad. But for Marcus Freeman, he's got a contract extension that he just signed through 2030. He's not going anywhere. For James Franklin, his buyout is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think he's going anywhere. So I look at the other two coaches and Ryan Day and Steve Sarkisian. I don't know about you, Stu. Sark, to me, out of those four coaches, Day, Freeman, James Franklin, and then also Steve Sarkisian, in a weird way, even though he's ranked the highest going into this weekend in terms of them being the 5th seed going up against a 12th seed in Clemson, I actually feel as if Sark is the coach that I view as under the least amount of pressure. Because if they lose, I think there's two takes here. Oh, they lost to Dabo. This is the return of Dabo Sweeney. And then also, there's always that next year type of feel for Texas. Even last year, when they made it to the college football playoff, right, and they won the Big 12. Even this year, when they were in an SEC championship game and they lost, and now they have this college football playoff game up against Clemson. But as long as you have Arch Manning waiting in the wings, there's always that curiosity of, what is Arch going to be? And we've seen him in small doses this year. But there's been that feeling for me the last year and a half for Texas where it's, okay, Arch is coming or Arch is here and he's going to be the starter next year. And even though there's a very good chance that this Texas team, right, could go get to the Final Four, could go get to even a championship game this year, and maybe even win it all. Like, that's not off the table. I'm not expecting that from Texas to win it all. But if you tell me Texas ends up winning it all with how open this year is in college football, and you tell me they beat Clemson, they beat Arizona State, and then they upset Oregon, or maybe someone does Oregon's dirty work before, and then you have Texas beating Tennessee or Ohio State, like, it's not inconceivable. But even if Texas loses, Stu, there's still a sentiment to me that I'll have of, okay, Quinn Ewers was good, but now you get that, like, good job by Sark getting Texas back, but now you get the next gear just with the anticipation and buzz that's surrounding, Arch Manning.
Yeah, and like you said, you're going up against Clemson, who, this isn't the Clemson of 5 years ago, but it's still Clemson. It's still a team that's has some talent. I mean, you look at...
It's a respectable brand. Like, no offense.
No offense to Indiana, no offense to SMU.
Bingo. Like, if Penn State loses to SMU, if Notre Dame loses to Indiana, even though those are really good football teams, James Franklin and Marcus Freeman are going to get obliterated on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's just what's going to happen. If Sark loses to Clemson, out of all these potential spots, like, I do think that's the one with the best get-out-of-jail-free kind of card. If we were playing Monopoly.
And look, there's zero chance that Sark gets fired.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think Freeman would get fired either.
And neither Franklin.
Or Franklin, but there's a 0.0, like a no chance Sark gets fired if they lose.
So it leads me to the coach under the most amount of pressure. And that is my BFF. I am going to send him a little holiday gift of a little beer dye. Maybe I'll do that. And that is Crying Day. This is a huge moment Saturday night for Ryan Day. You get Tennessee coming in, who plays really good defense. Dylan Sampson is a phenomenal running back. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you also have a quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, who there's a high ceiling for him, but he's been erratic this year. He's been up and down, Nico Iamaleava. And this is the first time we'll see Ohio State playing a game since what I thought was glorious, but what they'll call is a disaster, but now they say it's meaningless, where they lost to Michigan in the game. And the last few weeks, you've heard from Ross Bjork, you've heard from Ryan Day, devaluing the game, and this team's still on a mission, and this team could go win a national championship, and they got to block that out, and now you're back in championship or bust mode. And I'm just fascinated to see what the first half is really going to look like between Ohio State and Tennessee, and to see where Ohio State's going to be at mentally. But if Ohio State loses this game, I don't care what the buyout is. I don't care what Urban Meyer has said. I don't care what Jim Tressel has said. I don't care what Ross Bjork has said. I don't care. You lose to Tennessee, even though Tennessee is like a dark horse to go win this entire thing. You lose to Tennessee after losing to Michigan, and you go out with all the money you spent on this roster, and you go out in the first round, and you can't even get a little participation trophy for beating Michigan this year. Let me tell you something. I don't see how you justify bringing back Ryan Day. I don't. And I know Urban said he's not coming on back, but how do you not place the phone call and beg him to come on back if Ryan Day goes out coming up tomorrow evening? So out of all the coaches this weekend, I really do believe Ryan Day is the coach under the most pressure this weekend in college football. The potential options, Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman, James Franklin, and Steve Sarkisian. If you had to guess, Stu, 1, 2, 3, 4, as you can find this at Zach Gelb and at INF Sportsnet on the good old cesspool of Twitter. How do you think it was coach under the most pressure, coach under the least pressure between those four options in terms of the way that our fans are voting right now?
I would say Ryan Day first, James Franklin second.
Correct. Ryan Day at 74%.
Wow.
James Franklin at 19%.
And then probably Freeman third, Sark fourth.
So
Ooh.
it was actually Sark third
Interesting.
at 4%, and then Freeman fourth at 3%. So very, very, very slim margin right there between Freeman and Sark. What say you, 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We come on back. Jim Harbaugh outcoached Sean Payton last night. We'll discuss why when we return. Football season is in full swing, and you take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less than at least two of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. For a limited time, Sleeper has a special offer. New users just have to play $5, and they'll receive $55 in free bonus entries. That's right. If you deposit $25 and play $5, they'll give you 11 $5 bonus entries to start playing. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE and get on this promo before time runs out. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE to claim to play $5, get $55 bonus entry offer. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and present in state where it is legal to wager. Promo code location and other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit $25. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I was impressed by the first half of the Denver Broncos last night, all the way up until like the final 5 seconds of the first half. And after that, bleep really hit the fan for the Denver Broncos, as that goes from a game when they're up 21-10 and you're feeling really good, you're about to lock up a playoff spot and you're about to get your 10th win of the season. And normally, right, in these games, you see the Chargers jump out to a big lead, and then the Chargers have the ball late. And, you know, when the other team gets back in it, the Chargers make a mistake, and then the Broncos, assuming they're the team that's going to be on the better side of this, they go get a score. And then late, whether it's Phillip Rivers or whether it's Justin Herbert throughout the years, the Chargers end up making a mistake. The quarterback ends up making a mistake, and then the Chargers end up losing the game. The Chargers are one of those teams, if you look at the last decade plus, they are in so many big games, or they're in so many games that just have crazy endings where you go, what the bleep? And yes, of course, the Chargers lost again. Well, you bring in Jim Harbaugh, and you bring in a competent, professional, great, and I mean great football coach, and even up against another great football coach, he finds a way, even when his team gets dug into a deep hole, to climb out of it in an unconventional way. And then also late in the game, even when there was a moment where I'm like, that was the Chargers' opportunity. That was for Herbert to go drive down the field and get this job done at 24 to 19, and they don't get the job done for a second. It's like, when is this going to happen? Can they put the game away? What's going to transpire? And they just don't get the job done. But last night, you saw two instances where the Los Angeles Chargers were just the better coach team. And one of those instances, and Sean Payton has done a tremendous job this year, but right before the end of the half, Stu, momentum was all on the Broncos side. And I mean, it's 21-10. That game's not over, but you're feeling pretty good when you're a few seconds away, if you are Denver, from walking into to halftime with an 11-point lead. And just sometimes when you're trying to gain momentum back, you don't have to get it all back in one play. You don't have to go make one big swing and get it back all or nothing. But there's like a little win that you could get, that you could kind of use that win, that small win, and have it elevate to a moment that chips a big piece away of the Denver deficit, of the Chargers deficit, to put you in a better position. And that fair catch free kick situation, the way that it played out, that is just the brilliance of Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh knows the entire rule book. Harbaugh knows every little small thing that is required to go win a game. And I've seen that happen before, where you have the fair catch and you get a free kick right as the half is winding out. You've never seen it converted. I don't think of any of our lifetimes. It's been like 55 years or something like that, where the kick goes through. But I have heard of this rule before, It was not in the right at the tip of my tongue last night when I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then you see it not only executed where you get the free kick, what was it, 57, 58-yard attempt, something like that, but then the kick goes through. And even in that moment, sure, it doesn't wipe away the entirety of the deficit, but then you walk into halftime only down 21-13, one score, and you're like, oh man, this is a brand new ball game. And yeah, I get it. The Broncos, they end up to open up or like midway through the third quarter, they get a field goal to make it 24-13. But it's still one of those moments where if you don't get that field goal with how close this game was, you don't know how this game does play on out. I thought from a momentum standpoint and walking into that locker room where the first half through, the Chargers did not play well, and to get a little victory at the end of the first half played a big part in what we saw from the second half from the Los Angeles Chargers.
Totally changed the game. I thought the Broncos at that point had, good control of the game, and it was going to be them that they were going to win. I didn't really see a way that the Chargers were going to come back. I would have been surprised, and then that happened, and you're right, it totally flipped after that.
It was like, hold on, wait a second. It really was.
Yeah.
And if you weren't watching with the sound on,
which I was not.
Which you were not. So tell us about your little watching last night, because you were telling me about this before we got on the air. Because if you didn't see this and like didn't have sound on, you're like, what the heck is going on?
I don't think I've ever been more confused about something in sports, because I was watching, I had the volume off. The girlfriend was on the phone with her dad, so I put the game on mute, but I'm still watching it, have it on mute.
You can't crank it up, put the volume up to like 100 so she goes to another room to take that phone call?
Could have done that, but I didn't. I was nice. And I'm just seeing them lining up for this kick with the holder, and they look like I had no idea. I had never heard of this rule. I know you said you had heard of it. I never heard of this rule. I went on Twitter. I got it explained to me on Twitter, basically. But I was, for like 2 or 3 minutes, I was like, what is happening right now? So confused. And
Sean Payton, at halftime, they have him on the field. Who is it? Kaylee Hartung, I think her name is. And Sean Payton's like, yep, that's part of the rule book. We know it. We practice for it. Like, I know Sean Payton knows the rule book. Are they really practicing what happens on this, like, fair catch free kick? I guess they could practice if it happens for them, but there's no way to defend it. It's literally a free kick. But Harbaugh walks into the locker room at halftime after his team, for the most part, laid a dud in the first half. And he's like, who's got it better than us? Nobody. Because that is the ultimate, like, small little detail, but big part of the game that a guy like Harbaugh, he just enjoys that very much, I guess is the polite way to say it. But also, at the end of the game, I thought it was a coward move by Sean Payton. So you're sitting there, it's 4th and 6. First off, Al Michaels, I get it, he's a legend. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Kirk Herbstreit is phenomenal in college. The two of them, especially how old Al is now, and Kirk just has too much, where they didn't even realize, and Harbaugh is losing his mind, begging the officials to throw the flag. But on the third down prior, it was 3rd and 13 before the Broncos ended up being a bunch of cowards and they punted the ball on 4th and 6. So the tight end who catches the ball and has to try to go get 6 or 7 more yards, he grabbed the face mask of, I think it was Derwin James, if memory serves me right, who was making the tackle. And Harbaugh is incensed. He's like, how do they not? He's irate. How do they not call this? So the fact that Al and Kirk are watching this game and they're highly compensated to comment on stuff like that, they didn't even make mention of it. So that's number one, where I give a little demerit to the broadcast team last night. Then also, on 4th and 6, it's very common in the NFL now. This is not football from 1983. This is football in 2024 with under 5 minutes to go, 4.5 to play. It's 4th and 6. You're down by 3. And you're basically at midfield. You're at your own 49-yard line. How does Kirk or Al, not one of them, say, oh, maybe they'll go for this here? The idea that they both, and I know Sean Payton ended up punting the football, but the idea that that wasn't even a conversation, and when these broadcasts are being done, if I was doing the play-by-play or if I was doing the color analyst, I think you want to bring something to the broadcast that your fans are thinking. Like Zach Gelb, who's sitting on his couch, That's who the target audience should be, the football fan watching your broadcast on the couch. And I do think that any normal football fan is sitting there saying, they probably should go for it here, but even if you don't, you think they should punt it, it's a conversation. You would think this was 4th and 38 by the way that they talked about it on the broadcast to just punt the football, not 4th and 6. And they end up punting the football. And I thought it was a bad move by Sean Payton, who's usually Mr. Aggressive. And that's why it was weird to me that he ended up punting the football. And I guess they just had no respect for Herbert and the Chargers, because how many years, whether it was Phillip Rivers or whether it was Justin Herbert, you get the ball back and you can't put the game away. And that's one of those spots. It's 27-24. The Chargers are getting the ball back again after they punted the drive before. And the Chargers, they got in a 3rd and long spot. Herbert used his legs. They convert. And eventually they ended up getting a touchdown. But Stu, I couldn't believe that last night. That, the broadcasters didn't even debate should they have elected to go for it. And I don't think it was ever brought up by Kirk or Al. Even after you go back to commercial break and you come back, okay, maybe you don't realize it in the moment when you're doing the game. But then also, I'm really surprised that Sean elected to punt the ball in that spot on 4th and 6 when his team is down by 3 points.
Yeah, I was surprised too. By both, by the announcing and the decision making. I could not agree with you more. Yeah.
855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Let me get quickly to Adrian in Maryland. Yo, Adrian, what's happening?
Hey, Zach. Well, first thing I'm going to say, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Hanukkah, and all that other stuff. I got to respectfully disagree with you. Both of those coaches messed up, because when Herbert threw that pick and they were inside the 10-yard line with like a minute left, the Denver Broncos ran the ball the first down, and Harbaugh had 3 timeouts. He didn't use one of those timeouts. And I thought, why don't you use the timeouts? You can get the ball back, maybe get another field goal. The next play, actually, Sean Payton threw the ball, and it was incomplete. So it basically helped the Chargers out. And basically, Harbaugh didn't know the rule as well with the free kick. I knew the rule, but I didn't know if they were going to be able to get close enough.
What do you mean that Harbaugh didn't know the rule? Because they ended up executing it. Right,
but they basically explained the whole book to him to tell him what was going on. He was going to get the 15 yards for the fair catch interference.
Okay.
And then he'd be able to fair kick it, without any rush and things like that. But I guess he wasn't sure how far the kick was going to be. It's 67, right?
Well, the kick ended up being 57.
Was it 50? I thought it was 67.
No, it was 57.
I thought it was 67.
No, it was 57. I love you, Adrian, but it's not going to change. It was a 57-yard kick.
Yeah, I was trying. I thought it was 67. But like I said, both of those coaches messed up the time management in that last minute. Harbaugh, actually, he was willing to go into halftime down the 11 points with 3 timeouts with a minute left on the clock.
Well, in that moment, and thanks for the phone call, Adrian, I'm just saying let's get into halftime. But then the way that it plays out and the way that the scenario presented in front of himself, the fact that his team, whether it was his call or special teams coordinator got in the ear or someone on the coaching staff that he's in charge of hiring said, hey, let's implement this. And it ended up working. And I thought it did change a big portion of the game. And late in the game, I thought Sean Payton got soft. 4th and 6. You got to go for it in that. Like, CeeLo, you have been around football for a long time. The way that the aggressiveness and the analytics has changed the game in the last 10 years, in that spot, like 10 years ago, if I'm watching and a coach goes 4th and 6, 4:30 to go, and they elect to go for it at the 49, I'm like, what the heck? But now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. In that spot, I thought that Sean should have gone for it, and that's how I said in the moment. But in that moment, I'm just programmed that the coach is always going to go, and he didn't do that.
It's much more commonplace. I mean, look, there are logistical things sometimes, depending on the situation. Where you're at on the field,
and the analytics. Let's be
clear;
they always say to go for it. They never say don't go for it.
And that's the issue. Look, analytics is great, and it's a great tool to have, but I feel like they don't always account for those other mitigating factors.
Yeah, the gut part of it.
Beyond even just the gut, like some of the things that to me just can't be accounted for when you're strictly talking about math and numbers, because there is the human element to it, even beyond the gut. Just matchups, formations, offense versus defense. Like, I don't think in those algorithms that are being pumped out and giving you a percentage or a mathematical number, I don't know how it can take everything that goes into football into account. And I'm not saying that they're suggesting that it does, But that's why sometimes I think you see coaches don't always go the route of what the analytics say.
Yeah, I was just surprised that a coach that ran the ambush play coming out of halftime of a Super Bowl and onside kicked it when you could surprise onside kick it, wouldn't go for it in 4th and 6 in that
That's
spot.
fair. And I don't know what the caller was referencing there because after the game, Harbaugh, he said the free kick is his favorite football rule, and he'd been waiting all season to try it.
Yeah,
so it doesn't sound like a guy who didn't know what was going on.
This is not going to sound right, but Harbaugh probably gets off to
a
play like this.
I don't disagree.
Right? I guess that's like the best way to say it in a PG-13
right.
way.
In the nicest way possible.
By the way, we had our holiday dinner last night just as a show. So Samter, myself, and Stu, we went out to this place in Financial District called Harry's. I saw a lot of photos of you enjoying yourself at your big comfy TV gig. CeeLo, you were looking like you're back in college. You were looking like you're ready to party.
Listen, we had a nice time.
Where was it?
We were also in the Financial District.
Oh.
I forget now the name of the place.
Okay.
I should know, but it was.
CeeLo had too many drinks.
No, not that. I didn't. Once I was there,
Blacked out CeeLo on the streets.
No.
I thought we saw you last night.
Here's all you need to know. I was able to drive home all the way to Central Jersey just fine.
Okay.
So it wasn't. I had a nice time, but in a responsible manner.
You looked young CeeLo who was still dad CeeLo is what you were saying.
Yes, it was good to be out, and I had not had a chance to enjoy that gathering the last couple of years at one of my other jobs. So I wanted to make sure I could partake this year. We had a nice time.
A lot of people posting photos, and every photo I saw from SNY, the TV station here in New York, CeeLo's in every one of these photos.
Out and about.
I think you're the most popular talent there. Everyone want to take photos with you.
No, I don't know about that, but it's a fun group, and we like working together, and it was good to hang out with everyone outside of the office place last night. Yeah.
You know, I thought I saw CeeLo out of the corner
of my eye
last night, just running around the streets
Probably
of New York
did.
with his shirt off, going
not that part.
streaking.
Yeah, right. Bring your friend. Bring your green hat.
All right, we'll come on back. We'll do a little onside, offside. Still to come on the show. Georgia defensive back Dan Jackson at the top of the hour. Dan Lanning of the Oregon Ducks to stop by in an hour from now. And then coming up in the last hour of the show, we'll do NFL picks with Chris Brockman, who's now going to be a part of the Infinity Sports Network, a part of the Rich Eisen extravaganza starting January 6th. Update time. Here's the party animal, Chris Lopresti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, coming off 3 straight productive offensive seasons with the Diamondbacks, veteran first baseman Christian Walker is headed to the American League. According to multiple reports today, he has agreed to a 3-year, $60 million deal to join the Houston Astros. We are getting closer to the college football playoff opener from snowy South Bend. It's an all-Hoosier State showdown as Notre Dame hosts Indiana, and Indiana head coach Kurt Cignetti says, bring on the storm.
I hope it snows 1.5 feet. We have a Canadian quarterback. Did you see him throw the ball against Purdue? I mean, this guy grew up like in the frigid north. He looked pretty good to me that night, so I don't think it's going to bother him very much.
Indiana holding at about a touchdown underdog. Winner of that game moves on to face Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. The Cure Bowl coming down the home stretch from Orlando. Jacksonville State making it a game. They trail Ohio 30-27 now with about 3.5 minutes to play. Gasparilla Bowl from Tampa getting underway shortly as Florida takes on Tulane. Iowa QB Brendan Sullivan to return from an ankle injury. He will start in the Music City Bowl against Missouri coming up on December 30th. And Michael Vick officially announced today as the new head coach at Norfolk State. NFL, the Ravens rule out receiver Nelson Aguilar for tomorrow's AFC North showdown with the Steelers. I'm Chris Lopresti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
And it's time to ask the pros, or you, the listener, gets asked us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stu, what do we got?
All right, so two of the biggest NFL games this weekend come on Saturday with the Steelers taking on the Ravens and the Texans facing the Chiefs. We've discussed C.J. Stroud's regression this year, However, Stroud is on pace to virtually match his numbers from last year in terms of yards, completion percentage, and touchdowns, though his interceptions have nearly doubled. Onsets, offsides, you still believe that C.J. Stroud will be a top 5 NFL quarterback?
Onsides, I still think he could be a top 5 NFL quarterback. He has not been playing like one last year, but remember, he had a great year one. I don't want to say this is a sophomore slump because he's still playing really well. Like a sophomore slump indicates that he's just like fallen off and been horrible. But teams adjust. I still think, though, he has elite potential and great potential in this league to be a top 5 quarterback. So I go onsides.
In tomorrow's other huge game, the Steelers travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens in what could determine the AFC North. Pittsburgh won the first meeting between the teams 18-16 back in Week 11. The Steelers are coming off of an ugly loss to the Eagles, while the Ravens beat up on the lowly Giants last week. So onsets, offsides, despite the Steelers winning the first matchup and having a better record, you have more faith in the Ravens come playoff time.
Absolutely onsides, because say what you want about the Ravens' shortcomings in the postseason, at least they find a way to win a game. The Steelers haven't won a game in the postseason since the 2016 season. I know that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson doesn't have the most spectacular playoff record in the world, but at least they were able to get one win up against the Texans last year, even though it wasn't a great performance, before they did lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season, so I do believe with Lamar and Derrick Henry, I trust them more come playoff time than Russell Wilson, and we'll see what happens with Pickens and that offense just being such a major question mark.
Another big matchup this weekend pins the red-hot Eagles up against the Commanders in an NFC East showdown, with the Eagles riding a 10-game winning streak and the Commanders winning their last 2. Jaden Daniels has thrown for 3,045 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, and adding nearly 700 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground, while Jalen Hurts has thrown for 2,900 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 picks, with 14 rushing touchdowns. Onsets, offsides, Jaden Daniels would be the better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm going to say onsides on this one, and it's not being disrespectful to Jalen Hurts, but I think Jaden Daniels can win anywhere, and the Commanders have a solid roster. You know, Terry McLaurin's really damn good. I like Brian Robinson Jr. better than most, but you look at the Eagles roster, Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, and also Devontae Smith. I think Jalen Hurts, even though he has the ability to outplay someone like a Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl, which he did, you know, I don't want to call him a game manager because I don't think he's that, because he makes too many explosive plays. But I do think he benefits greatly off of the system that he's in compared to what happens where I believe you could put Jaden Daniels anywhere, and he's just so explosive with his arm and his legs, he could succeed even if he doesn't have as much talent as a Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback. I just believe that Jaden Daniels has potential to be great. So Daniels will be better than Hurts. I will go onsides.
Mike Vrabel is the biggest name left in the NFL coaching search, and multiple reports have linked him with the Jets. Now, sportsbetting.ag has put out the odds for the next Jets coach, and Vrabel leads the way at 1-2. Aaron Glenn is second at 4-1, followed by Ben Johnson at 7-1, Liam Cohen at 12-1, and the current Jet interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich at 20-1.
Yeah, that's just wasting money at 20-1.
Onside, offsides, Mike Vrabel will be the Jets head coach in 2025.
Possibility. I don't think just because, right, he played for Belichick, that means Vrabel wouldn't take the Jet job. I've heard that theory. I think that's stupid. But I just keep on envisioning Vrabel with the Bears. I think it's the safest choice for both. So I'm going to say Vrabel with the Bears. So when you ask me, Mike Vrabel will be the head coach of the Jets in 2025, I'm going to go a slight offside.
Offside.
And I'll vacillate with that probably 30 more times the next 2 weeks.
All right, last one. Lincoln Riley's time in Southern California hasn't gone as planned, amassing a record of 25-14 in 3 seasons with the Trojans. Now USC has lost star twins Zachariah and Zion Branch to the portal, but got good news yesterday as safety Kamari Ramsey announced he is returning for another season. Earlier this week, Urban Meyer expressed his concern about Riley and the program.
I just worry. I like Lincoln Riley. He's always been very good to me. I coached against him. Here's the problem, Colin. Once you lose momentum, it's hard to get back. Yeah. And USC's lost momentum. I mean, they had it when they hired him and a lot of energy. They officially have lost momentum in Southern California. What does that mean? Normally it doesn't end well. I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt because it's not his first rodeo. He did a really good job at Oklahoma. I think he'll get it back. I really do. But the minute you lose momentum, You got to really turn up the heat now to get that momentum back. And that's got to be you got to get some prize recruit. You got to win some games, because if you continue to lose momentum, this will end poorly.
That, of course, was on The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Onsides, all sides, Lincoln Riley can still turn things around and make USC a powerhouse again.
You heard it from Urban. He did a really good job at Oklahoma. Just because you're doing a really good job doesn't mean you're a powerhouse. If you're going to be a powerhouse at USC, obviously you start with now winning the Big Ten and then eventually winning a national championship. Oklahoma, when Lincoln Riley was there, was in an easier conference. They always made the college football playoff. They had Heisman Trophy finalists, Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, a great situation, and they could never win a college football playoff game. He's never won a college football playoff game. So now you're going to a tougher conference, and you don't have as easy as a road, and the luster on Lincoln Riley has worn off, and now the question is, Lincoln Riley can still turn things around and make USC a powerhouse? I don't think so. He can make them good, make him solid. You know, he's a good coach, but I don't think he's a great coach, and I don't think he's going to have USC as a powerhouse, so I'm going to go offside.
Offside.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We got a jam-packed hour number 2, and we'll get things started in 5 minutes from now. One of the best stories in college football, SEC champion Dan Jackson from the Georgia Bulldogs is going to join us coming up 5 minutes from now, and still to come 50 minutes from now, we'll be joined by the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, quack, quack, Dan Lanning. Whole lot to do. We get things rolling in 5 minutes. Next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. The Georgia Bulldogs have won the SEC. They're waiting to play in the All-State Sugar Bowl. They will get the winner of Indiana and Notre Dame tonight in snowy South Bend. And now we welcome in one of the better stories in all of college football, from a walk-on to a two-time national champion, just won the SEC once again, and that is Dan Jackson from the Georgia Bulldogs, kind enough to join us right now. Dan, it's Zach Gelb. Appreciate the time. Congratulations. Thanks so much for doing this, and how you been?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I've been good.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on. So I know you've had a few weeks to kind of process it, but what does it mean to win this SEC this year, in a year where, you know, when it started, everyone was picking Georgia, but then there were many times during this road to the SEC championship this year where they had a lot of doubters in some uncharted territory for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it means everything. It's one of the reasons I chose to come back this year, and along with a lot of other guys on our team. And, you know, it was a goal since last January, and here we are, and just thankful to be healthy and just thankful for the opportunity.
You know, how much of the outside noise did really play a factor? I don't want to say in this team's success, but when you had a program like Georgia, it's championship or bust. You guys have been one of the best programs in the country now for the last few years. When people are saying, oh, Georgia's vulnerable, oh, Georgia could be beat this year, and you guys just keep on finding a way to be standing at the podium at that SEC championship, did you guys kind of use that outside noise as a little bit of motivation?
I mean, there's always outside noise, but for us, we're always focused on each other. You know, we take it day by day, each day at practice. You know, really, no matter who the opponent is, we're always focused on ourselves and how we can get better. And, you know, we always have the utmost faith in each other because of the way we practice and the way we work. So.
And the defense really kept Georgia in the game in the SEC championship game up against Texas in the first half. And then, unfortunately, you see Carson Beck go down and Gunnar Stockton got his number called. Just how about what Gunnar showed you guys in that SEC championship game in the second half?
Yeah, no doubt. Gunnar's a dog. I told everybody that, and we were joking around after the game because, you know, I was saying that Gunnar used to play safety growing up, so it was no surprise that he was going to come in and do his thing, and super proud of him. And, you know, praying for Carson, and, you know, his situation right now is uncertain, but we got his back, and but just thankful for both of them.
I know you said Gunnar is a dog. I'm assuming that this team's confidence in him has not wavered as you guys get set to see who's going to be playing for the Sugar Bowl and who you're going to be going up against. It seems like this group, even on the sidelines in that second half, is just really confident in his abilities.
No doubt. No doubt. We're riding with Gunner and, just super proud of his work ethic and the way he attacks each day at practice and in the meeting rooms, and got the utmost confidence for him.
Yeah, and we know Carson suffered that unfortunate injury. I know a little bit of it has been ambiguous, as Dan Jackson is here with us right now from the SEC champion Georgia Bulldogs. I saw Dogs HQ from On 3 reported that Carson, since you guys got back to practice and hasn't even been with the team, just you being one of the leaders and Carson also being a leader, have you had any conversation, any interactions with Carson Beck, whether it was in person or via text?
Yeah, I mean, his situation is really unfortunate, and it's still uncertain at the moment. But like I said, I mean, came in with Carson and just really thankful for the kind of player and work ethic that he showed, and praying for him and just hoping that he gets back healthy.
Yeah, how do you kind of look back at the season that he's had so far? Because it's been a roller coaster kind of ride of emotions for Georgia this year. When you look back, if unfortunately Carson can't return to play, how would you kind of describe the season that he's had?
Yeah, I mean, he comes in and works his butt off too, each and every day, and that shows. And mostly for him, he's just a great competitor, and I'm just thankful to be out there competing with him each and every week, and he knows that, and he knows that we all have his back no matter what. And it's really unfortunate his situation, but I have no doubt that he's going to bounce back, and he's going to be great moving forward.
Talking to Dan Jackson right now. I love your story, and I'm glad your story was able to get highlighted this year, especially in that Georgia Tech game. But just kind of take me through it. You were a walk-on. You had this dream of playing from Georgia, and now you just keep on winning game after game after game. Just kind of walk me through your entire walk-on great success story.
Oh, yeah, it's like you said, it's been a dream of mine. And, the road hasn't been easy at all. But thanks to the guys that are in my locker room and the greats that I've played with, I've been here a long time, and I've been a part of some great teams, and most thankful for those relationships that I built, because that means everything to me. And the memories I have with those guys, throughout the last 5 years, that's what I'm most thankful for. And I've had great coaches along the way too that have made me into the player that I am today. And I'm not done getting better. And we just got done with practice today, and there's things that I can improve on daily, and that's what I'm most thankful for, is the opportunity to continue to compete.
Just wondering, how did you even get the opportunity initially? Because I know right at these big programs they even have preferred walk-ons, and from my understanding, you weren't even a preferred walk-on. So how did that all go down?
Yeah, it was a little different for me. I got in contact with the DB's coach at the time, Coach Charlton Warren, and he, my high school coach, Dave Bishop, helped me out there, and he basically just said, "Hey, we got a spot for you. You're locked in for fall camp," and the rest is history.
When did you start to, in your opinion, kind of prove something to the program, right? Because a team like Georgia, they could take a risk on a walk-on, and it could sometimes amount to nothing. Clearly, you've worked your way up year by year by year to be one of the more respected players on the team. When did you start to realize, man, things are really going my way for one Dan Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've always had that belief in myself, and belief that God gave me the ability to be the player I can be. And it helped. What helped me get going was just finding a role on special teams or whatever it was. And after that COVID year to start the 2021 season, I got the chance to help the team on special teams. And then that eventually led to a third down role on our defense. And, just from there, I just kept my head down and had a lot of support behind me, and just tried to get better each and every week.
Do you remember, just wondering, your first conversation with Kirby Smart, and what was that like?
Yeah. I don't think he knew who I was at first. He said that. But just gaining his respect and the rest of the coaches was my goal once I stepped foot here. And, I just felt like if I could just get that opportunity, if I could just get my foot in the door, I could run with it from there. So
obviously you've won championships, but with all the great players at Georgia, you could win a championship and you may not get highlighted. Your moment of really getting highlighted, and I know you've had some success on special teams and whatnot, but where everyone's talking about you around the country was that Georgia Tech game. the hit on their quarterback that forced the fumble, then the big tackle in overtime as well, as that thing was never ending, and then you guys eventually won the game to save your season. What was the aftermath of that moment like, where you were a big part in the reason why you guys got the victory, and then afterwards your coach Kirby Smart's like, hey, Dan Jackson is everything right with college football?
I mean, for me personally, I didn't know at the time, but I wasn't 100% certain at the time. But that was my last game in Sanford Stadium, and to go out like that on a win was my biggest goal. Thankfully, never lost to Georgia Tech since I've been here, and they got a great team, and especially their quarterback Haynes King. He's a great competitor, and I got myself and the rest of our team has the utmost respect for him and the way they played this year. But that game was one of the reasons we do what we do. We say 60 minutes or as long as it takes, and it definitely took longer than 60 minutes that night.
No doubt about it. It was one of the great moments of the college football season. We're wrapping up with SEC champion, national champion linebacker Dan Jackson from the Georgia Bulldogs. They'll get the winner of Notre Dame, Indiana in the college football playoff. So after that Georgia Tech game, right, where Kirby Smart's telling your story and he's saying you're all that's right in college football, he discussed, and you even talked about a little bit, that you debated not coming back for this season. Kind of take me back through that decision-making process, and I'm glad you elected to come on back with the way this season has turned on out.
No doubt. It wasn't a very long debate because I just knew the opportunity that I had in front of me, and my goal was to win another national championship and the SEC championship, and we were able to complete one of those already, but the national championship is still on the table, and that's another reason I wanted to come back. And I wasn't happy where I was going into an opportunity to play at the next level too. So, I wanted to come back and just keep getting better and, being around a great group of guys, and I wanted to win more football games.
I know you're the ultimate team guy, so just separate the team component of this for a second. Individually, for your individual success, what do you think you've proved? What did you kind of believe that you really put your stamp on the mark this year when you look back at this season?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, just believing in myself, not let somebody's opinion of me or false narrative that they have. I don't worry about that. I know the kind of player I can be, and thanks to my family and all the support that they've given me, and my coaches and my teammates. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and personally, I know that there's still a lot more football that I can play, and that's where I'm at, and I'm just ready to win.
Well, I watch you see your energy, you see the range, you see you move all over the field and how much your teammates really respect you. But if someone hasn't watched you, how would you describe your game so far, Dan Jackson?
Really, personally, I just try to play like my hair is on fire. That's what I want people to remember me as, and a guy that wasn't afraid of contact and just put it on the line for his teammates every week.
Are you going to watch Just Wondering tonight? I know that there's always different ways to prepare, but will you be watching that game in snowy South Bend tonight between Notre Dame and Indiana?
No doubt. Every minute. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's going to be some experience. I know you've been in the college football playoff before, but now this thing going to a 12-team format and you guys get in a bye. Just what do you think of this new format?
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to focus on ourselves more thanks to the first-round bye. So we're thankful for that. And then it's like you said, tonight we find out who we play next. And we've been able to prepare, for both of those a little bit already, but just mainly focusing on ourselves and getting back to the basics.
Last thing I'll ask you, then we'll let you run, and we appreciate the time today, Dan Jackson. I want to ask you about one of your former teammates, Brock Bowers. We always knew that he was a stud. The last 2 years, he won the Mackey Award. We know what his resume was at Georgia, but this transition has been so seamless in the NFL. Closing in on 100 catches for the year, over 1,000 yards. Just how do you kind of look back at some of the interactions and what it was like to be a teammate of Brock?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first thing I think about was going up against him every day at practice. Me being a safety, a DB, him a tight end. It was a great matchup every day, and I was just thankful to get to compete against him, and he made me a lot better. And but to his success this year, I know personally, and the rest of our teammates that played with him, we're not surprised at all. He's another dog. He's a competitor, and his attention to detail, and along with his insane work that has gotten him to where he is today.
One more, and then I'll promise we'll let you run. Is it kind of crazy how, the next time, if you guys don't win, this is it for your college career. Obviously, the goal is to win another national championship, but with your story and all the success, is it just wild to be sitting here in this position today with how quickly the time has probably flown by?
No, I mean, it's flown by really fast. And it feels like the SEC championship just ended too. And, that was over a week ago and almost 2 weeks now. And just and from here on out, it's a one-game season. So that's the way we're attacking it. And, we want to see this thing the whole way through. But right now, it's win or go home. So.
Well, congratulations. I love your story, and I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much, and good luck the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You got it. There he is, Dan Jackson, one of the more incredible stories in college football. And just to hear that on the show was pretty damn cool. From a walk-on to all these games that he's won at Georgia, and that moment up against Georgia Tech was really the national coming out party where everyone was talking about Dan Jackson, that hit that he put on Haynes King, and then how he wrapped up Haynes King in overtime as well. Pretty neat stuff. And obviously, they say uncertainty when it comes to Carson Beck. I'd be shocked if Carson Beck plays another snap for Georgia this year just because of the injury. But that's a team that believes in Gunnar Stockton. And Georgia's kind of like Kansas City, the Chiefs, where we keep on saying they're vulnerable. They could be got. Now it's up to someone to finally take them down. And we'll see if someone can take them down or if Georgia's going to be standing up there at the podium at the end of the year. And it's like, Kirby Smart did it again. We'll take a timeout. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief next. Also, Dan Lanning, the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, will join us in about 30 minutes from now.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
For your daily news brief, we get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by Sleeper. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code SCORE when signing up. Must be present in certain states. Visit sleeper.com for details. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product. Dan Lanning coming your way right here on the Zach Gelb Show 20 minutes from now from the number 1 ranked Ducks of Oregon. Let's start things off with Aaron Rodgers. He was probably seeing ducks when he was on ayahuasca. This is from Enigma on Netflix.
I'm kind of stuck on this idea that butterfly is just another term for the caterpillar. It's really the caterpillar the entire time. And caterpillar opens his wings and just cannot believe this is my life now. I get to fly around. I get to smell flowers and eat flowers. To live like that, living your wildest dreams every single day.
You got the caterpillar, and we say it's a butterfly, but the caterpillar just flies around like a butterfly caterpillar. Don't you? Pass me the Doritos. Isn't it unbelievable? I love life. I love everything. I'm ayahuasca Aaron. Stu, what the YouTube chat thinks you do. That's what Aaron Rodgers does. Jeez Louise. That was really something hearing him. That's crazy. Now people are going to be like, you saying Aaron Rodgers is crazy. That getting broadcasted is crazy. What a conversation by Aaron Rodgers. If I'm ever in that stage, I'm just like, get me the ice cream. Not the caterpillar and the butterfly. That's awesome. Here is DJ Moore. He's clearly not been happy this season. How tough of a season has it been?
DJ, how just tough is this season?
Not tough at all. I'm lying, but it's been tough, frustrating, definitely with this losing streak. But yeah, we need to figure it out. Maybe not this year, but at the beginning of next year, we definitely need to figure it out.
What kind of ideas do you have when you think about the off season already and training camp and making it better?
What I'm thinking about? Vacation.
Oh, to clear your mind of all this?
There you go. Yeah.
So that's in the moment. That's a player who's clearly annoyed. Stu, if I told you that DJ Moore gets traded this offseason, would you buy it?
Yeah, I think so.
So I actually said that before Caleb Williams even got there. I had a take, and my take was, with how outspoken DJ Moore has been, being a good teammate in his support of Justin Fields, if Fields isn't there, even if he signed a new contract, which he did this offseason, I could see this being the beginning of the end for DJ Moore in Chicago. Now, the dead cap, and I know you can move this thing around now, but 2025, it's $36.6 million. Then after that, it's $12 million. So depending on when they trade him, that could be a possibility. But man, with Keenan Allen now being old, and you got DJ Moore there, and you also got Rome Odunze, I would try to make that work. But it's a bad answer by DJ Moore. You know, vacation, clear your mind, fine. But to even joke about not being upset first and then have it sarcastic, it just doesn't seem as if DJ Moore wants to be in Chicago anymore. Let's go to Jahmyr Gibbs. He was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams, and he told a story how he was almost drafted by the Dallas Cowboys.
When I was in the draft process, I said I just didn't want to go to a team up north. That's the only thing I said.
At least you got a dome. God gave you half your little Christmas wish.
Yeah, but I'm happy I came here, though. So, I mean,
Yeah, I would say can you imagine playing anywhere else? Like, no way.
No, I said that. I was like, because the Cowboys don't get me too. I got 24. And then I was like, imagine if I was a Cowboy right now. I'd be so sick.
Isn't it a crazy world, Stu? Imagine 10 years ago, right? I got on the radio and I said, a player would rather be a Detroit Lion than a Dallas Cowboy. But that's where we're at now, where the Lions are fun. The Lions are a great team, a team that everyone could get behind, unless if you're a fan of the Vikings or the Bears or the Packers. But even still, I think there's just some respect because they're finally doing it. And as long as you're not going up against the Lions in the playoffs, it's wild that a really good running back who played at Alabama, by the way, in Jahmyr Gibbs, can now say, yeah, even though it would have been cool to be a Cowboy, I'm so much happier that I'm a Detroit Lion because you'd be a loser right now on the Dallas Cowboys. Just what a world that we do live in. Let's go to Malik Neighbors. He was having a catch with Shedeur Sanders before the Heisman Trophy over this past weekend. This is Malik Neighbors on the Giants maybe drafting Shedeur Sanders.
Coach Prime today saying that he guarantees if the Giants have the number 1 pick that they're keeping it and they're going to draft Shedeur. I know you played a little pass with him before the Heisman. Just how do you feel about that? How would you feel about him being your next quarterback?
I mean, Deion is very confident in his son, but that's something upstairs that they got to do, that they got to look over the film and see what quarterback that they want. I'm not sure if they want a quarterback. I'm not sure. It's not draft time, but the decision will be made when it's time for the job.
How would you feel if that was, in fact, the decision that was made, though, after playing some catch?
I ain't answering that.
So him saying, I'm not answering that, it's like, okay, this is the way I interpret it, Stu. The reporter asked the question, he gave him something. Then the reporter's doing his job, is trying to get more out of this. He's not going to basically tell you, yeah, I want Shedeur over Cam, or I want Cam over Shedeur, and this is who I think they should draft, and blah, 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 blah. That clip shows me, and also when he's having catch with Shedeur Sanders, it's not that he wouldn't want Cam Ward, but he clearly wants Shedeur Sanders, but he's not going to sit there and basically give his endorsement for Shedeur, because what happens if the Giants have the 2nd pick, the Raiders have the 1st pick, Shedeur's the quarterback, and then they get Cam Ward? It's going to then be brought back up while he was advocating more for Shedeur over Cam Ward.
Yeah, he can't do that. It's a no-win position for him there, so he had to answer it that way.
All righty, let's go to Liam Cohen of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's our offensive coordinator. Is he thinking about all of these rumors about him becoming a head coach?
Not extremely difficult at the moment, I'll be honest. I mean, there's literally one goal, and that's the only one. I really hate to sound PC, but that's the truth. I mean, there's just no time in the day. I got a kid sick throwing up at home last night. I mean, there's just no time to even truly think about these things. I mean, obviously, is that a goal? Is that a dream? Yeah, but that's not at all what's on my mind right now, and you really don't have enough time to think otherwise right now.
So he did a good job in making you think he's not thinking about it. I got a sick kid. I'm all locked in on this team. You're not a human being if your name is starting to get a lot of buzz. And it wasn't that long ago. I know he's a McVay guy, but he was the offensive coordinator of Kentucky. That's when I remember first hearing his name. And to have this ascension so quickly in the public eye where now everyone's talking about you. And you now become a hot name in the coaching cycle where just last season you were the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. I know he had another stop. That was the first time I heard him, which was in 2021. And he kept it going from the Rams to Kentucky, then back to the Rams, and then Kentucky. Like, it just kept on. It never ended. But this idea that he's not thinking about it, that's just a lie. But I'm good with him saying he's not thinking about it because that's what coaches do. Here is Ben Johnson, Lions and Bears this weekend once again. Ben Johnson, a lot of people think he could become the next coach of the Bears, so it's a perfect avenue to ask about Caleb Williams without it being out of the blue. Again, I'm not talking about another team's player. Here is Ben Johnson.
Do you think he's got a skill set that maybe a new coach would find appealing? What you've seen from his performance?
Listen, it's been difficult to sit down and just study every throw, but there's no question this guy's talented. I remember standing on the sideline last game and just you can hear the ball whistle by you. He's got quite a fastball, has some creativity to him, can extend plays, and is accurate down the field as well. So, like I said, I haven't really dove in and can tell you much more beyond that, but he's been impressive from afar.
That's a good question. That's a good answer. Not that I'm expecting Ben Johnson to say anything critical of Caleb Williams before his offense is going up against the Bears defense because you don't want to provide any bulletin board material, even though Caleb Williams is on the offensive side of the ball. But with that being said, that gets all the clicks going today. Oh, Ben Johnson interested in the Bears. Oh, did you hear what Ben Johnson had to say about Caleb Williams? Oh, he was like a fat kid in a candy store jumping up and down when talking about Caleb Williams. It's a good job by Ben Johnson. Now let's see if Ben Johnson wants to deal. This is what I would have done. I would have followed up. All right, you like Caleb Williams. How about the Bears ownership? What do you think of the Bears ownership? Because then we could really understand. It's one thing to like the quarterback. It's also, would you be okay working there? Let's go to Myles Garrett. This was interesting. Listen up, Myles Garrett and his future with the Cleveland Browns.
First of all, I want to win. I want the Browns to be able to put me and us in position to win. I'm not trying to rebuild. I'm trying to win right now. I'm gonna stay loyal to a team that, showed loyalty to me and faith in me by drafting me. But we have to do at the end of the day what's best for us. I want to be a Cleveland Brown. I want to play here. I want to end my career here. But we choose to do a rebuild, and I want to be able to compete and play at a high level, play meaningful games, be playing past January.
Well, if you want to win, I would have said, hey, get out of Cleveland. And I'm someone that says on the radio, here we go, Brownies, here we go, hoo, hoo. But if you then also want to win and play after January, then you really got to hit the road, Jack. You got to leave the Cleveland Browns. So that seems like he's setting up his departure in Cleveland, saying it's not me, it's the Browns. It's you, all right? It's not my fault. Don't come yelling at me. You got to be better, all right? That's what he's saying, and he's kind of putting that out there. How long of a leash is it going to be that he's going to continue to allow the Browns? Well, hey, Myles, this organization with Deshaun Watson isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I would get out this offseason. I would say bye-bye. All righty, that's a news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Dan Lanning, the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, is going to join us next. Update time first. Here he is, Chris Lopresti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, start of the college football playoff is imminent as we count down to kickoff in snowy South Bend tonight with Notre Dame hosting Indiana. The latter, a bit of a Cinderella story to get here this season, but Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman says...
Listen, you're talking about a college football playoff game, and every college football team that's in the playoffs is going to have a chip on their shoulder, and there's going to be a lack of motivation for anybody. So it's still going to be about preparation and performance.
Notre Dame about a touchdown favorite for the game. The winner moves on to face Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. A final for the Cure Bowl in Orlando. Ohio held on to beat Jacksonville State 30-27, despite getting outscored 20-3 in the second half. Gasparilla Bowl ongoing in Tampa. About 9 minutes to go, second quarter. Florida with a 6-0 lead over Tulane. Meantime, Iowa QB Brendan Sullivan to return from an ankle injury and start in the Music City Bowl against Missouri on December 30th. We'll see if the other first base dominoes begin to fall now that Christian Walker has come off the board in free agency. The veteran, who turns 34 right around opening day, is reportedly agreed to a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Astros. NFL, Eagles wideout A.J. Brown is off the injury report. He is good to play against Washington this weekend. I'm Chris Lopresti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All righty, we continue. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. You got Tennessee and Ohio State, a part of the quadruple header this weekend in college football. The winner of that game will go on to play the number one team in the country. They're undefeated. They're Big Ten champions in the Oregon Ducks. And now joining us is their head football coach. We always love when we get him on the show. And that, of course, is Dan Lanning. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations. Appreciate the time. And how you been?
Doing great, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. I know it's been a few weeks, but I'm still buzzing about what Tez Johnson did in that Big Ten championship game. Planet players make planet plays. Man, he was awesome all throughout that game.
Yeah, it was great to see, Tez dealing with some injuries there at the end of the season, be able to come back and make such an impact for our team. So really proud of him.
You look at all the conference championship games inside the Power Four. When you looked at the matchups, there was at least one school that wasn't in that conference the year before. I know this is the craziness of the sport now where conferences are going to change, but you wonder when you go from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, how the Ducks were going to fare. And I didn't really have concerns, but you guys made it look pretty smoothly, going undefeated and winning the Big Ten. How did you guys do that this year, looking back at it?
Well, I'll say it was certainly a challenge, right? This is a great conference, one that we're thrilled to be a part of. But I thought our guys played consistent football and proved that we can win in multiple ways. And just had enough time to squeak out some wins and win some tough games. So it was a lot of fun for us being in a historic conference like the Big Ten, being able to pull things together like we did. But really proud of our guys' performance so far.
It's only your third year on the job, but you have increased the expectations at Oregon. And you look going into the Big Ten, there was a narrative heading in with you. It was like, oh, he didn't beat Washington twice last year. Can he win the big game? You guys took care of Ohio State this year, and you also took care of Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. Did you think that narrative was valid? Do you think it's laid to rest after winning the Big Ten, or do you still feel people are down you?
Who cares, right? But I'll say ultimately, the results are the results. You can't argue with wins and losses, and we control the narrative, right, by what we do. So far our team's been able to do that, and that's been awesome.
I also thought it was great, too, when you guys go in with high expectations, right? Championship or bust expectations before the year. I know you guys want to blow everybody out, right? In an ideal world, you win every game by 40 points. But the first two games of the season, how you kind of had to fight, scratch, and claw, I think that could – I'm not saying your group needed it, but maybe you humble a group a little bit and kind of reset what the main thing is. Just how do you look back at the first two games of the season and how it kind of laid the foundation for what you guys have been able to accomplish so far?
Yeah, I think most of the people in the world truly don't have self-awareness. I think that was a great moment for us to have some self-awareness where we can improve, what we can do better. You played some good teams early on that ended up having great seasons as their seasons went on as well. But we identified some issues that we needed to improve on, and really throughout the process of the season, proved that we can win in multiple ways. So, great growth moments for us, and certainly moments that we grew from.
Now you're getting used to going to the Heisman Trophy. How was that experience once again, getting to see one of your players be a finalist?
Yeah, you always hope that, through team accomplishment, individuals start to get recognized. And, Dylan's certainly a deserving player, is one of the best players in college football, and glad that he's on our team. But he definitely deserved those moments. And I think he'd be the first to tell you he wouldn't be there without the guys around him that helped make that possible.
I was actually talking to Coach Chris Peterson the other day, and we were talking about your Oregon Ducks as Dan Lanning is here with us, the number one team in the country. They're in a bye this week. And he said if he was doing a draft out of all the players in college football, he would actually take Dillon Gabriel first. He thinks he's the best player in the country. So you said one of the best. When you hear that from Coach Peterson with all he's accomplished, just what comes to mind there?
Well, I think Coach Peterson knows what he's talking about, right? We're blessed to have Dylan on our team. The experience he has, the poise he has in big games. I feel like he shows up in those moments more than anything. And we're blessed that we get the opportunity to go to work with him every single day. He's obviously been a game changer for us.
And this is back-to-back years, right? We saw what Bo was able to do for 2 years in your program. Now we see what Dylan's able to do. The transfer portal, I kind of call it like speed dating. You think you maybe get into something great. Sometimes it ends up being that case. Sometimes it doesn't. How did you know, even with all the impressive film that he had at Oklahoma and UCF, that Dillon Gabriel was the right next guy for your program?
Well, I think more than anything, you fall in love with the person, right? And Dylan came in here with the right approach of getting to know his teammates, working his tail off to earn their trust, build connection with those guys. And the play speaks for itself. Dylan's obviously an elite player, great accuracy, great decision maker. So all those things have added together to equate to a great football player for us.
Do you still feel like he gets disrespected? I know you could say, who cares? But You just went through this with Bo, who had a great season. Everyone's like, I don't know how he's going to be as an NFL quarterback. Ends up going 12th overall, having a pretty damn good season. Do you still sense that kind of similarity? Like, man, the same thing that happened with Bo is happening with Dylan right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think our guys operate with a chip on their shoulder, and that's okay, right? You see Dylan, he's probably doesn't get all the recognition that he deserves. But I know this, Dylan came into it not looking for individual accolades. He looked for team success, and that's why he's playing football. So we're proud to have him on our team. He deserves every bit of praise that comes his way. I think he'll continue to perform for us down the stretch here.
I saw you pop up on my screen last night on doing the Prime Video spot. It was a very cool moment with you and Tony Gonzalez. I know things didn't go Bo's way last night in terms of getting the win up against a very good Chargers team with Coach Harbaugh. But just how proud are you of Bo to see what he's been able to do pretty much through his entire first season in the league?
Yeah, you can't put it into words. You talk about your dream and your vision for a player, but right now proof's in the pudding for what Bo's doing in the National Football League. He's playing at a really high level, and we're certainly proud of him.
You know how it goes in this business. We just focus on coaches and we just focus on quarterbacks. But I look at a player like Jordan James. I know he was good for you guys last year, but now having more opportunities, there was always high expectations for him. How did you know entering this season that you could trust him in increasing that workload in a big-time way?
It probably starts with what Jordan does at practice. He practices insanely hard. He works his tail off to be great every week, and he's a physical runner. But his mentality, on the practice field, that always carries over to games. And he's always been a great practice player. But to see that show up on game day for us has been huge.
Coach, I want to take you back to the offseason when there was rumors that maybe you would be going to Alabama, and you put out that video and you said it means something to be an Oregon Duck. I wanted to ask you this, Coach Dan Lanning. What does it mean in your mind with the way that you're building this program and leading this program to be an Oregon Duck?
I still wake up and pinch myself that I get to be the head coach here. And I'll never take for granted that they gave me that opportunity. I probably wasn't the most popular pick whenever that came out, and it's certainly been a blessing for me and my family. And we're just really grateful for that opportunity to get to coach here in a place that's so special. And it's certainly exceeded my expectations. So thrilled that we get that chance.
You say you weren't the most popular pick. Why do you think, looking back, you were the right pick?
Who knows that I was? I think there's a lot of great coaches that can do a lot of the things that I'm doing. But what I'm really blessed to have here is an unbelievable staff, great players, an organization that has alignment from top to bottom, really believes in a process. And because of that, it's certainly paid off.
It's funny. When you get a job like Oregon, you wouldn't be expecting so many people to try to get you to leave. Oregon's a great job, but you've been through this now numerous cycles, whether it was Auburn or it was Alabama. And now once you go through all the colleges, they're like, Dan Lanning may be going to the NFL, and there's NFL interest. I know it's nice to have that interest in you because it means you're doing things that are successful, but has that ever crossed your mind, Coach, just wondering about maybe one day coaching in the NFL?
It used to be a goal of mine. It certainly did, but I think at this point, everybody can realize that I'm not going anywhere. So I love what we have here. I've got 3 young boys that love Eugene. We have a lot of unfinished business here that we hope to handle, and I'm enjoying the ride. So this will be the place that I'm coaching for a long, long time, as long as I continue to do my job.
I don't want to say that there's time off because I know you guys are gearing up for your first college football playoff game, but you do have a layoff from the Big Ten championship game to your first game. How do you kind of manage that? Just wondering as a coach.
Yeah, ultimately, it's about how you use your time. Early on in this process, we were really able to focus on us, do a deeper dive into our program, what things we did that were really good, what things we did that we can improve on, and then give us an opportunity to kind of look ahead at future opponents and prepare for the teams that we could be playing here down the stretch. So I think we've utilized that time really well. We got practice this morning. We're about to go hop out there and do some prep for Tennessee, and then tomorrow we'll be doing some prep for Ohio State, and then by the end of the night, we'll know who we're playing and be ready for it.
Wrapping up with Dan Lanning. So we've been talking about this playoff forever. Now we know it goes from 4 to 12. You guys are getting ready to participate. You'll find out who you'll get coming up Saturday after Ohio State plays Tennessee. Just for what it means to the sport of college football, you now being one of the faces of college football at a major program. Just what are your thoughts on the college football playoff going from 4 to 12 and it being finally here?
Well, I think it's certainly exciting for fans, and it's going to be a fun process to be a part of something that, the first ever, right? So this is a historic season. We're thrilled that we get the opportunity to be in it, and hope that we get to continue to play some of our best football here down the stretch.
I think I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but I have to ask it anyway, Dan Lanning. With Coach Nick Saban no longer in the sport, Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL, we're trying to figure out who's the next face of college football. And right, we've thrown out Coach Prime. Kirby Smart with what he's done has obviously been in that conversation, but your name has come up a lot this year. Is that something that you ever think about, that, hey, if you win a national championship this year, obviously you want that for your kids and your program, but you could be viewed as the guy and the face of the sport of college football moving forward?
There's a lot of better coaches out there than me. I'm blessed to be where I'm at, and we've got, college football is exciting right now. I think anybody that watches the sport would recognize that there's some unbelievable programs, unbelievable coaches, unbelievable players in the sport. So we're just thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this as well, Coach. When it comes to the transfer portal right now, I could sit out there and say, hey, it would be nice if the portal didn't open up until after the national championship game. But then I understand the academics and the school calendar as well. Is there anything that we could do to fix this system? Because it is unfortunate when you got guys that are in playoff games that have to not get that experience, even if they're not playing, and go into the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think ultimately, looking at ways to bump the season up to where it finishes closer to the end of term, into January 1st. If the season finished then and then opened the portal afterwards, I think that would solve a lot of problems. I think it's really tough on some of these players that have decisions to make and want to be a part of championship runs, but also need to be able to figure out what's next for them. So if we could finish the college football season and then roll into a portal window and give guys an opportunity to still be able to get into another team before the semester starts, I think that would be a big benefit. But ultimately, that means we need to move the calendar up a little bit, a little less dead time at the end of the year. And in my mind, a lot of that makes sense.
So that would be fine with you if, let's say, you started the regular season 2 weeks in advance of when you usually start it now?
Yeah, or not had 20 days or 30 days until your next game. We played a championship game at the beginning of December, and now you wait till January 1st for your next game. I think a lot of those windows could be closed. There's more time here now than necessary in my mind.
Last thing I'll ask you, there's so much talked about your team. So many people learn about your team. There'll also be a lot of people who haven't seen your team play that just tune in for the college football playoff. So we know so much about your team, but just wondering, what's one thing you want to share about the Oregon Ducks that maybe, it's an individual player or it's a unit that people that you kind of think people don't give enough credit to?
Well, I think a lot of our players are overlooked. But I'll say this, what makes our team special is how much they love each other, how connected they are. And they play really hard for each other. They're not really concerned with the opinions of others. And that's one thing that I really love about this group is they just go out there and work every day, and they have some goals in mind. They have some things they want to accomplish.
Well, Coach, congratulations once again on the Big Ten championship. Good luck, whoever your opponent may be, and we appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zach. Have a good one.
There he is, Dan Lanning, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show. I think that's actually been the best answer I've heard on the transfer portal and this issue that they have now in college football, where you could have guys who could be a part of a team in the college football playoff, and they're in the portal right now, and then they're no longer with their team. So he's right. And I thought he was basically just saying at first, oh, maybe you have to push the season up 2 weeks earlier. You started 2 weeks earlier. But he just said it. This college football playoff, it drags out. Oregon won the Big Ten championship, right? You get rewarded by getting a bye for being one of the 4 highest ranked conference champions. But you're not going to play from that Big Ten championship to January 1st. It's 25 days when they play on January 1st. It'll be the 25th day since they played a game. Now, you know what I'm thinking right away, Stu? And I'm curious if this is going to be the case. In Major League Baseball now, you have the 2 division winners. Everyone else gets thrown into that wild card round. And we've seen some of those division winners go down. And people then start to question the system and question the format. And does it actually benefit you to get into that divisional round, which I think it does. I'd rather have the bye than not have the bye. But depending how it plays out with Oregon and with Georgia, really, because I think it would be a different scale for teams like Boise State and Arizona State. But in terms of the way that we view teams that can win a national championship with Oregon and Georgia, I'm really curious if they do lose to let's say Indiana and Notre Dame. Notre Dame goes on to win that one. Then Notre Dame beats Georgia. And let's say the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State. And let's say it's, I don't know, I'll just go Ohio State. That's not who I'm going to officially pick, but I'll do that later. But I'm just saying, for argument's sake, if it is Ohio State, they beat Oregon. I wonder if there'll be that conversation, Stu. Man, that layoff really killed the momentum like a school for Oregon and also for Ohio State.
Yeah, there definitely will, and especially with something new, a new format, and like you said with the baseball playoffs, it's definitely gonna be a conversation if one of the bye teams lose, which I think at least one will lose, but I guess you never know.
I'll tell you this: I'll do my predictions later. I think there could be. I think that out of the bye teams, one's definitely gonna lose, but I'll say this: I'll give you a tease to keep on listening for the next hour. It's not the one that you think that's going to lose. I will give you my college football playoff predictions coming up 40 minutes from now. We're coming back. Who could win it all? We'll discuss next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Yo, hour number 3 of our radio program, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Stu, have you locked in what you're doing tonight? Notre Dame, Indiana. If you tell me I don't know, I'm going to be annoyed here. You got to know what you're eating food-wise tonight for your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, right?
Yes, it is funny that you said that because literally this last break, I've been texting with the girlfriend. We are trying to lock down a pizza place to get pizza, wings. She wants a salad as well. So we will get that. I will not be consuming the salad. I will have just the pizza and the wings.
You can have the salad. We don't need to shame you. But
I don't want the salad.
You had salad last night?
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, you don't go back-to-back days with
don't
salad.
Need that. Got the pizza tonight.
What kind of wings? You going hot wings? You going like barbecue?
Buffalo wings.
Buffalo
Bone-in
wings?
buffalo wings, I think, will be the plan.
Good. Blue cheese?
Ranch.
Ugh. You're a cat guy?
I'm a ranch.
And a ranch
I'm a cat guy. Yes. Strongly both.
Ay. Now, I'm more of a dog guy over a cat guy, I will admit. I'm not a big fan of cats. But that's like I'm not going to say that's a minor character flaw. You know, people love animals. You should all love animals. But when you tell me, Stu, and I love you, Stu, that you're a ranch guy over blue cheese, and you also live in the Northeast, like as Jonathan Taylor pointed out to us, if you say ranch, it's more of a Southern thing. Blue cheese, definitely East Coast. But you being an East Coast guy, and you like it to take a perfectly awesome hot buffalo wing, bone in because you're a man, right? Good job, not boneless. You got a bone-in wing because you're a man, and you're dunking that sucker in ranch?
Definitely.
Ay. I don't know if we could continue this working relationship. That's just terrible. Like, there's awful people, and then there's Stu now. The fact that Stu is going ranch. I was going to pick Notre Dame to win tonight. If Notre Dame loses, I think it's because of the ranch.
Oh, no.
Oh. So if you're a fan of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and you lose tonight and you're walking out of the stadium, I would say we direct the mob towards Stu, putting ranch on a wonderful wing. Now, what are you going pizza-wise? Just pepperoni?
I think we'll go just pepperoni, yeah.
Okay. Make sure you get it well done.
Definitely.
If you wanted to go chicken bacon ranch on the pizza, fine. But buffalo wings with ranch. Stu, that's the first time I've ever been upset with you.
The girlfriend will have blue cheese.
Okay.
She prefers blue cheese.
Oh, so she's sane. She's the better part of this relationship.
Well, I'm not going to argue that.
I like your girlfriend better than you, I think, now. That's a keeper. Out of all these moments that you probably realize that Angie's the one for you, the fact that she dips her wings in blue cheese, that's how you know she's the one. She's the one. You know, go a little Bruce Springsteen on you there for a second. Okay, So you're doing pizza, pepperoni, well-done pizza, wings. Your better half is actually smart. She's dunking those wings in blue cheese stew, is going with ranch. Disgusting. And then there's also a salad. What kind of salad? A Caesar salad? Like
whatever she wants. I mean, it'll probably be like a was it a house salad?
House salad, okay. Gotcha. So that's what Stu's doing when he's sitting there having the munchies. I mean, just watching the football game. Chris Brockman, the producer of the Rich Eisen Extravaganza, which you can hear on the Infinity Sports Network, starting on January 6th from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern time right before us. He's going to join us for NFL Picks, and we'll have a fun little conversation with him coming up 15 minutes from now. But, all right, so you're watching the game tonight, Stu. I know you're rooting for Notre Dame. Let's go through all the 12 teams here in the field. And the question is just this. Can you see them winning a national championship? Now, I'm not going to lie. I look at the graphic you guys just put up, going all the way, and it's Drew Aller and it's Riley Leonard in the corner of my eye, because I know Santa's a part of this. And I'm thinking to myself, did Samter think this segment was going all the way in football and just wanted to troll and put up the Cowboys? Yeah, when I squinted out of the corner of my eyes, I'm like, that looks like a cowboy. And then I realized that it's the Notre Dame blue jerseys and then the Penn State jerseys, which are those white jerseys. But out of all the going all the way options, no offense to Riley Leonard and Drew Aller, I just didn't think those were the two guys we were going to see. If you had to put two people up on this graphic, Stu, with all these teams in the college football playoff, I actually think the two people I would put up there are Kirby Smart and Dan Lanning. And I know it's not players, but usually when it comes to college football, you think coaches first. But I had to pause and do like a double take. And I was like, did I write something wrong? When it's Drew Aller and it's also Riley Leonard.
I think Mike wanted to make sure that there were two participants that are playing this weekend.
And that are questionable if they can go all the way.
Yeah.
It's
not saying you're picking a Notre Dame, Penn State. Well, I guess they wouldn't be able to meet in the final, but semifinal.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's
not a these are your two guys that you think are going to go all the way here.
I was taken aback first. It was jarring. It was surprising. Ugh, now I have to envision a world Penn State in a semifinal. Why do you have to do that to me? All right, let's start it off. We'll just go in order here. Oregon, do we really need to give an analysis? Stu, can they win it all, the Ducks of Oregon?
I don't know. Yeah, they can.
Georgia, right? Same thing. Georgia, obvious. They can win it all, correct?
Yes.
Window?
The quarterback situation's a little scary, but yes, I think they still can.
Like if I said to you, Stu, your life is on the line. You have to pick a national champion. Who would you pick this year? Just wondering.
Oregon.
And then if I said you get two guesses, who would you then pick? Oregon and who else?
It would still be Georgia for me.
Mm-hmm. All right, Boise State. I love Boise State. I love Ashton Genty. I don't think there's been a voice in the national media that has been more complimentary to Boise State and Ashton Genty this year. I think their ceiling is just to get to the Final Four. I don't think they could get to a national championship game, and I don't think they could win the national championship.
I agree.
Okay. Same for Arizona State.
Yep.
I love Sam Leavitt. I love Cam Scatterbo. I love the way that they were able, even though Tyson going down, the wide receiver stepped up in a big way. And you look at Dillingham, he's awesome. I think they could get to the Final Four. I don't think that's crazy. Whoever wins here, Clemson or Texas, I do think that Arizona State can find a way to beat them in the quarterfinals. But, Stu, I don't think anyone's saying that Arizona State can get to the championship game or win it all.
I would. There are probably not a lot of people that would say that. I agree with you again.
Okay, so out of the 4 bye teams, we're in agreement. 2 teams could get there. 2 teams could win it all. Now this is where it gets interesting. And it also brings up another point. I think if you win your conference championship, you should get a guaranteed spot in the playoff. I don't think you need to be guaranteed a bye. And you have some teams, if it wasn't the current format that it was, that would have been in front of an Arizona State or a Boise State. I think you should just be guaranteed maybe a bye in a home game. Just a spot in the playoff and a home game is what I would say. I don't think you need to be guaranteed a bye. So let's start off with the matchup tomorrow. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Texas and Clemson. Stu, do you think Texas can win a national championship?
I do, yes. That's actually the third team I would have picked. Gun to my head, I have to be right. about, the second team to win the title is between them and Georgia for me, but I definitely think they can win it all.
So I have trust issues with Texas. I do. And I keep on looking at Texas, and even though they're back with what they've done the last 2 years, I keep on thinking to myself, next year, because it's whenever you fully unleash Arch Manning. But I do look at Texas, and they are well-rounded. I hated how their offense performed in that SEC championship game, but they've only lost to one team this year, and they've done it twice, and that's Georgia. Now, you can't play Georgia in this format until you get to the national championship game, and Georgia's there. Now, I think Oregon's tougher than Georgia, but if, let's say, Tennessee or Ohio State, the winner of that game, picks off Oregon, I guess I then could see a road for Texas, and maybe even you see some more Arch Manning. That could be a possibility. Oh, Jalen Hurts to a Tagovailoa situation back with Alabama years ago. But I can't see Texas getting to a national championship game and winning it all. So we have 3 of the same teams there. What about Clemson?
I do not. I wouldn't be totally stunned if they won this game, but I don't think they can then beat Ohio State or Tennessee and then beat. That'd be too many games for them to have to win.
Yeah. So if they win this game, they play Arizona State. Do I think they could beat Texas, then beat Arizona State? Yes. But then, like Stu was saying, you had that trifecta of Oregon, Tennessee, and Ohio State. I think they would have been playing above their head if they get to the semifinals. And Dabo, we all know, even though I have not been as kind to Dabo, he's really done it to himself the last 3 years. And he's basically just made it very easy to blast Dabo Swinney. He's a heck of a football coach. That offense, to me, is just too inconsistent. And I know there's moments like where Kate Klubnik really won them that game up against Pitt, but I can't see them winning 3 games to get to the championship game and then also winning the championship game. So I'm in agreement with you on Clemson. All right, what about Tennessee? You think Tennessee could win it all or get to the championship game, one or the other?
Think they can get there. I don't think they can win it. I just have a tough time. They have a lot of talent, but the freshman quarterback still concerns me a little bit. I just think it's too soon for them.
I think Tennessee is a team that could get to the championship game and win it all. And it's going to be if Nico Iamaleava doesn't have to be as great as he was in the first few weeks of the season, but if he could just be good. Because that defense is awesome. Dylan Sampson is a heck of a running back. And Nico Iamaleava has star potential, but it's a lot to ask from a freshman quarterback. But is it inconceivable that he goes on a 4-game run here? I don't think it's inconceivable. I'm not saying it's likely, but can I see Tennessee somehow getting to a championship game? I can. So that's the one that you think they could get there, just not win it all is what you said.
Yes.
What about Ohio State?
I do think they can win it all.
I don't. And I know people are going to say, Zach, you're just a Ryan Day hater. You may be right on that one. But also, that mental toughness of that team, after what I know Michigan's not in here, and I know they have a ton of talent, but in a big spot, I just don't trust Ryan Day. And I think Ryan Day, in a year where it was, right, born on third base, Ryan Day, they put the ball right in the tee for you this year to beat Michigan, and you couldn't do it. I just think that's a mentally soft football team, so I can't see Ohio State winning it all. SMU, no. I don't think either of us. I think they could beat Penn State, but hey, if they then beat Penn State, they play Boise State, but then winning after that and getting either Indiana, Notre Dame, or Georgia, yeah, I don't think that's likely. So we're in agreement on SMU. What about the Nittany Lions of Penn State? Can they get to a national championship game or win it all?
Get to, yes. Win it all, no.
So their road's not terrible. SMU, Boise State, and then you get the winner of whoever wins between Indiana and Notre Dame. So let's say if it's Notre Dame, then Notre Dame, Georgia, whoever wins that game, then goes up against Penn State with a trip to the college football playoff on the line. Drew Aller's really, I think he's someone that could really be one of those guys in the college football playoff that has the most to gain this year. Tyler Warren's a stud. Abdul Carter is great. But I can't, and this is why I'm going to say no on Penn State. It's because even if they get a win, I think there's an exhale level with that team. And then it's like, okay, can you then get up for the next game? And I just don't trust, just like Ryan Day, I just can't trust James Franklin in a big spot. So I'm going to say Penn State can't get to the national championship game and they can't win it all. So far, teams that I'm considering that could get to a national championship game or win it all: Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. Now, we go to Indiana. Can you see Indiana? I know you're rooting against them tonight, but let's say they beat your Fighting Irish. Can you see them finding a way to get to the national championship game or win it all?
I can see them winning tonight, but I have a hard time seeing them winning after that.
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially in their biggest game of the season. It was Ohio State, and Ohio State wasn't even that great in the first half, and we still saw Indiana lose that game. Pretty much, it was Ohio State going away. It was a blowout. You had Will Howard doing the cigarette, putting the cigarette out and stomping on the sideline, but then all those Ohio State Buckeyes fans, oh, Michigan planted a flag in the middle of the field. Where? All right, Notre Dame. Can you see your Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Here come the Irish. I'm seeing College Game Day right now. It looked like it was going to be a snowstorm there.
Yeah, it stopped, didn't it?
It stopped the snow. It just looks chilly there. That's disappointing. This morning, did you see how much snow was there?
There was a lot of snow down this morning.
Even early afternoon. So they did a good job clearing all of it out, and it looks like it stopped. Let's get snow. Let's get snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. But Stu, can the Notre Dame Fighting Irish get to the national championship game or win it all?
I think they can get there. I think there's a path for them to get there. But if they're going up against an Oregon, Texas, one of those type of teams, I don't see them winning it all.
So earlier in the week, I asked, out of all the teams playing this weekend, not the teams on a bye, who do you say, if you had to pick one to win the championship, who would it be? And I actually picked Tennessee. I am starting to feel bullish on the Irish. I do think in a year where this is open, and maybe like someone could pick off Oregon, and then if they do win, they would play Notre Dame. With the way they run the football with Jeremiah Love, with having Xavier Watts in the secondary. It's kind of one of those years where if I would have told you back in September, do you remember? When Notre Dame lost to NIU, you would have said, them making the playoff? What are you, on crack? Right? That's what people would have told me. I could see Notre Dame going on a run. So I will give you my official predictions later. I'll give you every pick on the bracket. We'll do that at 5:40 p.m. Eastern time. But right now, considering winning it all, I'm considering Oregon, duh. I'm considering Georgia, duh. But after that, I'm only considering Texas, Tennessee, and the Irish of Notre Dame. And if you listen to this show, ever since I started here in the weekend overnights, I have never, ever considered Notre Dame winning a championship. Chris Brockman of the Rich Eisen Extravaganza is going to join us on the other side. He'll do NFL picks with us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. This has been talked about a lot this week, and we are very happy that the Rich Eisen Show is coming right here to the Infinity Sports Network starting January 6th, and you can listen to it on many of these same stations that you're listening to right now from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays, also on Sirius XM Channel 158, a bunch of apps, streaming services. It's like all over the place. If you struggle
Everywhere,
finding
baby.
the Rich Eisen Show, right, Chris Brockman, that's on you. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying the listeners, because you guys are everywhere.
No. What is it from Boogie Nights? That's not a MP. That's a YP.
Yeah. How you been,
that's a
by
you
the way?
problem. Oh, dude, I'm fantastic. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you and all your listeners. Things are great, man. Look, what did I tell you way back in June? The Celtics in 5, that happened. Yes, this Patriots season has been a disaster, but we have Drake May, who's going to be a top 10 quarterback next year. And everything is great in my world, man. How are you guys?
I've been fantastic, and we're excited to have you now leading the way here on the Infinity Sports Network along with Rich and the entire crew. But yeah, you're right. At first, when Drake May was a choice for the Patriots, I was like, oh, I really wanted Jaden Daniels. And then I talked myself into Drake May. But the way that he's been able to do more with less, and this roster is an absolute just repulsive roster, he really has impressed me this year.
Oh, dude, if you look at all the advanced metrics and all the analytics and all that stuff that the old fogies, just kind of bash because they don't understand it, it's what he's doing is so incredibly impressive. He literally has, if you think about the Patriots 53-man roster on any given Sunday, there's maybe 4 good players. And of course I say that with the utmost respect because they all could kick my ass. It is just unbelievable what Drake May is doing out there, running off script, the arm talent. When Alex Van Pelt lets him throw deep, he's connecting on deep throws. When they allow him to run the ball like they should have last week on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, cost him the game. He's getting big chunk yardage and getting first downs. I couldn't have been happier. I was with you. I thought before Jaden Daniels really broke free in the second half of his college season and won himself the Heisman Trophy, I was like, look, let's go off script. Let's take Marvin Harrison 3rd. Then we trade up back of the 1st round and take this kid, Jaden Daniels, on LSU. They're not going anywhere. No, then, of course, Jaden Daniels gets himself to the 2nd pick of the draft, and we get Drake May. Couldn't be happier. Kid's an absolute stud. We need to capitalize on his rookie contract window now, or you risk kind of blowing it like some of these other teams have.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could get T. Higgins. I know they tried to swing the last year and a half on getting a wide receiver. They haven't been successful. But also with that being said, I love Gerard Mayo as a player. This time last year when you knew that Bill wasn't going to be coming back, I was like, Vrabel. Then we find out that Robert Kraft had this agreement with Gerard Mayo like 5 years ago to take over. I don't usually advocate Chris Brockman for one and done, and this roster stinks, so I'm not saying that Gerard Mayo should be fired. Yep. But with Mike Vrabel still out there and the possibility of him going to the Jets, sorry, Gerard, I would get rid of him after 1 year and go get Mike Vrabel.
I know, and then what the Greg Bedard report that said that, look, if it is Vrabel, Josh McDaniels is coming with them, and maybe some of that old Patriots band's getting back together, and your mouth starts salivating at the possibilities because the one good season Mac Jones had, Josh McDaniels was the OC, and he made the friggin' Pro Bowl. And he looked competent. He looked like an NFL player. He was in the top 100 list. So you just kind of think about that. And look, I love Gerard as a player. He was awesome. The personification of the Patriot way and the toughness and the grit and everything that you love to see and got accustomed to watching those Patriot defenses. And I don't want to advocate for anybody to be one and done. You'd like to see him get an opportunity to turn this around. But if you just look at the games coming up to finish the season, it's 2 against Buffalo and then the other one against the Chargers. And I don't know how any of these games are going to be close. Yeah, so how does that carry into the offseason and the vibes? Look, we mentioned that the roster is, so leaves so much to be desired. I just don't know what's going to happen. Would I love Mike Vrabel? Yes. Should have done it last year. Didn't even give him an interview. That's such a dereliction of duty, on the front office and the ownership in that regard. A guy who's in your Hall of Fame, a fantastic, proven to be an excellent head coach, had Tennessee as the 1 seed in the AFC with Ryan Tannehill, a quarterback. Got to give him a look last year, man. But the fact that he's still out there, anything to keep him away from the Jets, geez.
What are you most buzzing about for this weekend in college football with the playoffs starting tonight? You got Notre Dame, Indiana, but you look at all 4 of these games. What's your biggest take for this weekend?
My biggest take from this weekend, I'm worried that we're just going to get home team chalk, which I know probably isn't going to happen, but it feels like it probably should happen. If you think, what do you think? What have you guys have been discussing about this? Who's the home team most on upset watch? Is it Ohio State?
I think it's Ohio State because I think Tennessee's really dangerous. I love their defense. I love Sampson.
Yeah.
It's just, what is Iamaleava going to be? But that Ohio State home game could feel like a road game very quick because if they go 3 and out after the disaster, I thought it was glorious, but Ohio State fans think it's a disaster up against Michigan. If they go 3 and out first drive of the game, those boo birds are going to be coming down loud.
Yeah, it's going to be coming down pretty loud. Are we overlooking Indiana?
I don't think it's overlooking Indiana. I'm just surprised how bullish I now am on Notre Dame because I have, in my entire history of being here on the network, I've never, ever thought Notre Dame could win it all. I kind of think they're a dark horse to now win it all this year. In a year where outside of Oregon, it doesn't look like we have a great team in college football. If someone picks off Oregon, which I guess it's possible whoever wins this Ohio State-Tennessee game, I would not be surprised if Notre Dame goes a lot farther than what I usually anticipate them doing.
Yeah, especially because they're on the Georgia side of the bracket, right? So with Georgia dealing with, the injury there, yeah, I could see that. I'm just kind of excited to watch this finally play out. We've been talking about a playoff, it seems like, for 20 plus years, of this scale with the 12 teams. And I'm just kind of is it going to just be chalk the whole way? It does feel like it's Oregon's to lose. Plus, we're getting elements. I mean, there's snow at Notre Dame. There's snow at Penn State. Like, that's going to be just fantastic to watch, kind of like the Browns game a couple weeks ago. We had the Snow Angels in the end zone. Like, that's going to be touchdown Jesus, Snow Angels. Like, what are we talking about? It's going to be amazing.
But I think this is the way to ask the question. I think this is the way that we should be talking about this. If, let's say, I tell you Georgia and Oregon cannot win it all, who would you then pick to win it all if it's not Georgia, if it's not Oregon? Because most people, when you see everyone that gives takes, it's like, oh, we're going Georgia, we're going Oregon to get to the national championship. If both those teams get picked off, who then wins it all, in your opinion?
Who's the quarterback for Texas?
Oh, so you think there's a chance that we see a little Arch Manning doing a little Tua Tagovailoa and Quinn Ewers plays the role of Jalen Hurts?
Look, what I'm saying is that I had this as an Overreaction Monday topic a couple weeks ago. I said, look, Texas wants to win it all. Are they serious about winning it all? Start Arch. Start Arch right from the jump. Have him take over in the playoffs. Look, it's not an injury situation like Cardell Jones a few years ago for Ohio State, but we've seen this before where a quarterback has come in and a team has won the national championship. Thing is, we've seen Arch play this year. We know he's the real deal. He's already the betting favorite for next year's Heisman Trophy. That's for a reason. So let's just go for it. How quickly is Quinn Ewers going to get pulled? If he turns it over on the first drive or in the first quarter, is he going to get benched again like he got benched early this year against Georgia? I think Texas is probably that team that could win it all if it's not the top two.
All right, he is Chris Brockman from the Rich Eisen Extravaganza, which will be joining the Infinity Sports Network lineup on many of these same stations starting January 6th. Stu, I'll sound like Coach Prime here. Give me my theme music as we get to these NFL picks.
It's time for NFL picks on the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, Chris, you know the dealio. We do 3 picks against the spread each. I will start you off. What's the first game that you like?
Oh, the first game is the easiest game. This is not financial advice, but 401k, IRA, all your Bitcoin, whatever you got, lay the 14 at Buffalo because there ain't no chance this is going to be a close game between the Patriots and Bills.
And you know what? Rich always says that you're a masshole homer. That's not a homer pick right there. You end up going with the Bills laying the points. You know, I think we've maybe had some objectivity.
This is the pick of a man. This is the pick of a man who's watched his team every single game this season, and they don't have any good players. The only one they have is number 10. And he's not going to score 35 points because that's what's going to take at least to keep up with this Bills team with the heater Josh Allen has been on. My goodness.
All righty, I'll give you my first pick. A lot of people starting to second-guess this team with all the injuries. The game was close on Thanksgiving at the end. Then Matt Eberflus found a way to mess it up and just get fired. I don't think this game's going to be close whatsoever. I'm taking the Lions. I love the Lions laying 6.5 points. I still think they're the second best team in the NFC. I put the Eagles in front of them. But give me Detroit on the road in Chicago when the Bears have checked that on this season. Lions laying 6.5. Your second pick?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So let's just make that my second pick as well, and I'll get to my third pick. I couldn't agree with that more. Here is my third pick. Also, Dan Campbell just wants to prove to everybody this is kind of an FU game. Hey, you guys are counting me out. You're dropping me in your power rankings. I heard Peter Schrager say he's kind of giving up on the Lions today. Like, come on. He is just going to stick it up everyone's you-know-what. All right, my third pick, because it has to happen, because the team they're playing against should really be 6-8 if you really think about it and you count it all out. Give me the Texans plus 3.5 in Arrowhead against Patrick Mahomes and company. I got to do it.
So it's so funny because you don't know my picks as well. I do have the Texans plus 3.5 as well because I was going through the spreads and I'm like, Chiefs laying 3.5. I'm going to stay away. And I'm like, wait. That's only a 3.5 point spread. The Texans haven't been able to really win a big game this year. Right. I think that's begging people to take Kansas City, so I'm with you. I plus the 3.5 points on the Texans. And then for my final pick, a little exhale spot could concern me with this team just because they were so dominant last week. And, right, they had all the locker room fighting, and they came out on the right side of it. So I could think this could be a sucker bet, but I'll be the sucker here if that's the case. I'm taking the Eagles laying 3.5 points.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Eagles laying the 3.5 points up against the Commanders. So the picks this week, I go with the Lions laying 6.5, the Texans plus 3.5, the Eagles laying 3.5, and Chris goes with the Buffalo Bills, who are a wagon right now, laying 14, Lions laying 6.5, and the Texans plus 3.5. Chris, before we let you run, I know you guys don't really need to sell your show because you guys are everywhere and it's been a juggernaut, the Rich Eisen extravaganza. But for people that have not heard the show, that are listening to Infinity Sports Network for a long time, even though we share many of the same affiliates for it to begin with, what can people expect come January 6th?
Look, you're going to get some of the best sports talk in the business. You know this. Overreaction Monday, what's more likely? Look, and some of the best celebrity interviews. And we're not just doing the tour. This isn't the 6-minute late night show. This is 20 to 30 minutes talking sports, talking the latest projects, talking their absolute hits. We had John Hamm on this week. You're talking about Landman and a Mad Men recap. You're just going to get that type of crossover that you're not really seeing anywhere else between sports and pop culture. And, of course, the NFL. And, look, Rich and I are one of the few shows who talk a lot of baseball. He's obviously a big Yankees guy. I'm a Red Sox guy. TJ on the show is a Mets fan. So we got everything covered in Major League Baseball as well. Waiting for this hot stove to heat up. I thought this was supposed to be tons of off-season moves here.
Well, you're a Red Sox fan.
Three big moves, and that's it. Like, what's going on? Yeah, Soto signed. Great. Christian Walker goes to the Astros. Cool. Where's Alex Bregman going? Where's Corbin Burns? Are any of these guys going to sign or what, Zach? Come on, you're plugged in.
Well, tell your organization to stop pinching pennies. The Red Sox used to be this respectable organization, the standard, and once you get rid of Mookie Betts, it's like, what the heck has happened to the Boston Red Sox?
Did John Henry go broke? Did I miss like a Forbes report or something? Like, what is going on? I thought Liverpool was making dollars hand over fist. What is happening? LeBron's part of this ownership group. Can he chip in some money? We need some starting pitching and we need a bat. Let's go.
Oh, I wouldn't hold your breath. But anyway, happy holidays and excited to welcome the Rich Eisen Show to the Infinity Sports Network on January 6th.
All the best. Good luck to our picks. I also like the Bengals -7. Just lay it. They're on a heater and they got to keep winning. You know what I mean? There's a bonus pick.
You got it. Thanks so much. There he is, Chris Brockman, joining us on the show. Chris Lopresti is standing by. We'll come on back. I'll give you all the predictions on the college football bracket. I'll pick each and every potential game in the college football playoff. Update time first, though. Here is Chris Lopresti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, the wait and the anticipation is almost over, getting set for the start of the college football playoff. Kicking off tonight in snowy South Bend with Notre Dame hosting Indiana. Irish head coach Marcus Freeman on finding a way to stay locked in leading up to the big one.
I think every person, every individual has to make that choice to continue to turn down the noise and focus on the things that are going to give us the best chance possible to have success on game day.
Notre Dame about a touchdown favorite. The winner will move on to face Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. Gasparilla Bowl ongoing in Tampa. Low scoring thus far. Under 12 minutes to go, third quarter. It's Florida leading Tulane only 6-0. Earlier in the Cure Bowl from Orlando, Ohio held on to beat Jacksonville State 30-27, despite getting outscored 20-3 in half number 2. Meantime, Iowa QB Brendan Sullivan will return from his ankle injury and start in the Music City Bowl against Missouri on December 30th. Christian Walker is off the board in baseball free agency. The veteran first baseman, who turns 34 right around opening day, reportedly agrees to a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Astros. And from the NFL, the Ravens ruled out receiver Nelson Aguilar for tomorrow's AFC North showdown with the Steelers, and they could be without Rashad Bateman as well. He is questionable with a foot injury. I'm Chris Lopresti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Rock your body. Hey, this is Howie.
And this is Nick.
From the Backstreet Boys.
And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
Alrighty, it's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Gerald in Houston says, Zach, who do you have winning the national championship this year in college football with the playoffs starting tonight? You can submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stu, give me our college football picks music. Alrighty, we will start it off tonight. Even though I'm very, very, very annoyed at Stu for electing to get wings tonight with ranch when you should go with blue cheese, I will not hold that against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish because I love Jeremiah Love. I have Notre Dame defeating Indiana. Notre Dame is off to round number 2 to have a battle with Georgia. Penn State SMU. Our pal Hot Take Hickey is off to Happy Valley right now. Hopefully, the Penn State fans elect to show up. There are questions about if the Penn State team is going to show up. I know it's a playoff game, but it's not your stereotypical big game that you expect James Franklin to lose. This is a medium-sized game for the Nittany Lions, and these are the ones that they usually win. Give me. I'm not going to say we are. I just won't do it. I won't do it whatsoever. But give me Penn State taking care of business up against SMU. We then keep it moving. And we go to Texas and Clemson. This is the game that I'm really conflicted on this weekend. I think Texas is going to win. But I'm a little bit afraid of Dabo Swinney and Clemson. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see a little Arch Manning. You know, maybe he has a rushing touchdown in this game because he has wheels, unlike Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. I'm going to pick Texas here, and I'm going to trust Steve Sarkisian. So I'm going to take Texas to get the job done in the new look version of the Texas Longhorns, what they've been the last 2 years under Sark. Give me Texas over Clemson. Oh, wait. Ohio State, Tennessee. Tennessee, Ohio State. I'm going with the Volunteers of Tennessee. Don't trust Ryan Day. I get it, right? Redemption spot. You lose to Michigan. That team, to me, they have so much talent. But the way that they've talked this week and the way that they've talked the last few weeks, they have talked me out of picking Ohio State. When this game first came out, I'm like, Ohio State, Tennessee. I really like Tennessee, but I'm going to pick Ohio State. And then you hear them just try to devalue the game and talk about a championship or bust. I think it's all backwards at Ohio State. Sampson, he's going to run right through Ohio State. The defense for Tennessee is going to cause problems for Will Howard. And I just don't trust Ryan Day when it gets into a close spot. Give me the Volunteers of Tennessee over Ohio State. So that leads us into the second round. Tennessee up against Oregon. The Sun Devils up against Texas. You have the Fighting Irish up against Georgia. And you have Boise State up against Penn State. I will start with Tennessee, Oregon. Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth. Give me the Ducks of Oregon. They've been the most consistent team in the country. They've been the best team in the country. Dylan Gabriel's been really damn good. Tez Johnson is an absolute stud. And I love me some Dan Lanning. As much as I've enjoyed watching Tennessee this season, I will take the Ducks to take care of business up against the Volunteers. All righty. Now we're about to get funky. Now we're about to get real funky. Even though Arizona State is the better seed, they're the 4, they had the bye. Texas is the 5, they had to beat Clemson to get here. I think a lot of people would list Texas as the favorite. Not so fast, my friends. I am not taking Texas in this game. When this bracket came out, I said I really questioned Sark and I questioned James Franklin in a big game. You get to round 2, even if the opponent's not your stereotypical big game opponent, that's when the games start to matter just a little bit more. That's when they become big games. I'm going to take Arizona State to take care of business up against Texas. Give me Cam Scatterboo, give me Sam Leavitt, and give me the Sun Devils to stick a fork in the Texas season. Boise State, Penn State. The 2 best players in this game, Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren. And then, if you said who's the 3rd best player, Abdul Carter. But this one comes down to coaching. And what Spencer Danielson has done in the last year and a half is really damn impressive since taking over as the interim head coach and then getting the head coaching gig. I think Boise State upsets Penn State. And then we get to Notre Dame and Georgia. What's that coming down the track, Stu? It are the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, not the Georgia Bulldogs. Lay off a long time. Questions at the quarterback position for Georgia. Jeremiah Love. Run, run, run. Even though Georgia has a heck of a defense, I'm taking Notre Dame to get to the Final Four. So then there was 4. Oregon, Arizona State, Notre Dame, and Boise State. Stu wouldn't even know what to do with himself right now if this is the Final Four. Give me the Oregon Ducks over the Arizona State Sun Devils in what was an old Pac-12 matchup, now meeting in a Big Ten team up against a Big 12 matchup in the semifinal. That's when the wonderful run of Kenny Dillingham, who was on Dan Lanning's staff in 2022, that's when it comes to a close with Oregon going to the national championship game. And Stu, Notre Dame and Boise State, a battle of 2 great running backs, Ashton Genty and Jeremiah Love. Riley Leonard is going to play a big part in this. Xavier Watts is going to play a big role in this. And Notre Dame will see the Boise State Cinderella story hit midnight. Notre Dame is advancing to the national championship game. Oregon and Notre Dame. Notre Dame and Oregon. I got to this network, I think, in 2017. It was either 2017 or 2018. When you have so much fun, who even remembers? And who wants to go back that many years? And when I got to this network, I would fight callers who would tell me, Notre Dame's great. And I'm like, no, they're good. They never win a big game. So it's very unlikely of me to put Notre Dame in a national championship game. It's very unlikely for me to pick Notre Dame to win the national championship game. So, Stu, fade down this music, please. We have Oregon and Notre Dame in my championship predictions. And winning the national championship this year, Stu, give me the music. Cut it. I'm not picking Notre Dame to win the national championship game. Give me the Oregon Ducks to win the national championship over Notre Dame, 31-20. Stu, your reaction on my bracket?
I was almost going to scream at you because there's no way. I mean, yeah, I could see them getting there. I don't think they would win it.
On that side of the bracket, though, the only school that can't intimidate you is Georgia, correct?
Yes. Like, not Penn State. Yeah. It's just Georgia. That's the only one that really.
Just do me a favor. Indiana doesn't intimidate you, right?
They don't.
Okay. I just, somehow I have my team that I picked to go to the national championship game and loses tonight. That's just a social media clip we may not use. I think Stu realized that.
I sure did.
3 seconds in. So, yeah, I'm going Oregon to take care of Notre Dame. If you would have told me 3 weeks ago I would have been picking Notre Dame to go to the national championship game, I would have never believed you. But I was going through the bracket, and I kept on hearing everyone say Georgia and Oregon and Georgia. I'm like, everyone's picking Oregon and Georgia. I like the Ducks to win it all. So I'm like, let's pick someone else on the other side of the bracket. And I wasn't trusting Indiana. I wasn't trusting Penn State. You will never get Zach Gelb to pick Penn State in the national championship game. I love SMU and Boise State, but I just and I'm like, all right, I got to take Georgia out. Who's got the best chance on that side of the bracket? Take Georgia out. It's the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. So Oregon Notre Dame is my national championship game pick, and I'm taking the Ducks of Oregon over Notre Dame 31-20. And that will do it for another week of the Zach Gelb Show. Next week we are in Monday. We are not here Tuesday and Wednesday, but we're here Thursday, Friday. So we still give you 3 days next week. I'll be on WFAN in New York City tomorrow from 9 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Sunday morning football from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern as well. We'll be back on Monday to recap it all in the college football world and the NFL world at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Big thanks to every one of you for tuning in today. Stu, Santer, thank you. Dan Lanning, thank you for joining us. Chris Brockman as well. And Dan Jackson. We'll talk to you on Monday, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.